Hello and welcome to the podcast that drinks and knows things. I am Abby, aka Gertie, of House Condescension, and you are listening to our episode, Tasting the Dornishman's Wife. We are recording this on October 27th, 2018. This is Season 5, Episode 6, discussing the Game of Thrones episode, Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken. We are spoiler-free for our first-time watcher. That's me. And others who are following along with us. For those wanting the exclusive, all-inclusive, VIP, spoiler-filled package, check out our epilogue episode. Listen to Drinks and Nose podcast on Radio Public. It's free, easy to use, and helps listeners like you find and support shows like ours. When you listen to our show on Radio Public's Android or iOS app, everyone benefits. Now, let me introduce my wonderful co-hosts. Hello there, Glenn of House Dog.
Hey, what's up, yo?
Nothing, not doing good over here, you know. We got Ben, a.k.a. Sly of House McLean. That...
I mean,
okay.
Lurch. Hello, Lurch.
We're also joined by Lucan of House Blackmead.
Why, hello.
Hello, hello. And we have a wonderful guest joining us tonight, Sir Terrance Pinkston. How you doing?
What's crack-a-lackin' home skillets? I'm here. I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So, as you know, per the norm, we need to talk about what we're drinking. What you guys got going on over there?
I have an Abbey wine.
Aw.
Sweet red
Yay.
wine.
I forgot to pack that. That's okay.
Sobertober last recording. So,
Yeah.
enjoying this hefty stein of water.
I got my Modelo case that I'm working down. I'm almost there.
He just keeps buying the same beers over and
Oh,
over.
we've
Kind of.
almost got
I
them.
go through. I did that with Shock Top. Now I'm on Modelo. And I got to get a new one for the next couple
We've
weeks.
almost drank all of them.
And Terrance, what about you, bud?
Well, in addition to drinking my troubles away, that's actually what I'm drinking right now. I'm drinking Bud Light, but hey, there's an addendum: lime.
There you go.
Perfect.
I got mine with you as well there, Terrance.
Nice.
All right. Well, I need to get myself a drink, but I'm hosting, so this is going to be a complicated thing. I don't know if you can enlist a 5-year-old to help you out in this situation. We'll see how the night goes. Who knows? So, this show and all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com are produced with the love and support of our wonderful Imaginary Legion patrons. Learn more about our rewards tiers at patreon.com/stayimaginary. Now, this is the part of the show where we shout out to our friend. Hi, friend, right there. Can you tell us about all your current projects and where people can learn more about you and find you? That's
is
you,
that
Terrance.
me?
Sorry.
That's me.
Yeah, I should have
Awesome.
introduced you. Terrance,
Aw.
again.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm happy to be a friend of the show, and thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. The current project I'm on is a long-time running Harry Potter podcast called Hogwarts Radio. I say long time running because we've been going for more than 10 years, which is it's crazy. It's crazy to even think about it in that scheme of things. Thank you so much. Yeah,
And that was not sarcastic. That was.
I'm not gonna lie, it's tough sometimes, you know. It's like you think you run out of things to talk about over 10 years, but there's still new content being produced, so we're just gonna keep going as far as we can, I think. The other side projects I'm currently doing, I've got something kind of big coming up for the Harry Potter community, and I can't say too much about it. In fact, I can't say anything, but it's really big. And I'm going to be excited to share it with people whenever it finally comes to fruition. So yeah, people can keep up with us over on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and other places where podcasts are aggregated.
I recommend
Amazing.
listening to it.
I do too.
You know,
I do
it's funny. We've got half of the Hogwarts Radio panel on this show today.
True.
Looking at Luke for the listeners of the show that don't know that Luke is also a co-host on Hogwarts Radio.
He's kind of a big deal.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. A little bit. I'd also like to point out you used my favorite word in your little pitch there. So great job on fruition.
The question.
Favorite word.
Favorite word.
Yes, because I haven't figured that one out yet. So who knows how this is going to go today. So looks like you're on the recap bench. Make it long and slow and tell me everything because I got to find a question.
All right. So, Grey Worm recovers, and the Bold One is laid to rest. Danny feeds her kids and makes a demand. John sets Torment free and is voluntold he's coming along. Stannis departs from the wall. Miranda tries to make a new friend. The Bolton clan share a dinner. And Jorah and Tyrion spot a dragon and meet some thick-skinned dudes.
Whoop, whoop. All right, back to my notes. Stop searching the internet. We are on... The episode number is Season 5, Episode 6. Episode duration is 61 minutes. It aired May 17th, 2015. The director was a guy named Jeremy P.
Padezwa.
Sure. Yeah, and
P.
yeah, you know that grade
Padezwa.
school. It's fine. And was written by Brian Cogman. Episode descript.
I'll take my time to give you some more time.
Yeah, it's not working out for me over here, folks.
Arya trains.
Period.
Jorah and Tyrion run into slavers. Christine and Marcella make plans. Jaime and Bronn reach their destination. The Sand Snakes act. Period. The Sand Snakes attack.
Amazing.
I could have gone
Okay,
much
so
slower, Em.
now for our Quill and Tankard pub trivia. Whoop, whoop. Terrance,
Whoop,
we're going to
whoop.
give us an easy one. Hopefully you get this, because I still win.
Terrance, just so
Okay.
you know, I'm sure you've seen it before, but yeah, write your name into your little box there. Don't hit enter until we say so that we all can't see each other's answers until
Okay.
that point.
All right. So in this episode, a derogatory term is uttered for the first time. Do you feel like this is a fair question?
Is it Mudblood? I hope
It is
damn it.
It
not.
is absolutely a fair question, Abby.
Okay, is that enough info from there?
Yes.
Derogatory.
Yes.
Yes, Felicia, play the song. Trivia, but yeah. That's all I can do without them copyrighting me.
I think you're fine. I don't think they're gonna accidentally think that you're the real version.
I know. It's
Oh, he isn't?
it was a joke.
I know. I was doubling down, saying that you're not that good of a singer.
Eh,
Ooh.
he's not wrong. Shit. Alright. Thumbs up.
I guess thumbs up if you have an answer.
Oh, okay, sure.
I don't have a good answer.
I don't either.
That's
I just said
I
an
don't- yeah.
answer.
Sorry, guys.
Hit the music, Luke.
How do you know this?
That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
1, 2, 3.
All right. So,
That is not
is the
a
first
derogatory term. Fine. Okay.
I'm sorry. That's why I was unsure. But Benji got my drift. So, we're going to call it fair. It's the first time that on screen that her nickname, Lady Olenna's nickname, the Queen of Thorns, is mentioned.
Ah.
Are you not going to read the other potential answers? I think we could maybe skip that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. We're just gonna skip right over that.
I do like Terrance's no madge. It's
No
pretty solid.
You mean that wasn't muttered in the episode?
Not that I heard
it
it. Was
whispered
it
in there.
listening
swore.
with subtitles this time?
In the Game
Could
of
have missed
Faces, I thought it was in there.
And then my answer, if you go back to season 7, what was that episode, like 5?
5-ish.
I said it then.
Yeah,
it was
we're gonna.
it was edited later, so you had to see it live.
It was a live type of thing. Had to be there. So the title screen, we got the dink. We go from King's Landing to Winterfell, the Wall, Bravos Marine, and Dorne. Anybody? It's the title screen.
Terrance, any thoughts on title screen in general? Music?
It's been a while since I've actually sat down and watched a Game of Thrones episode. I know, shocking, but I really it made me appreciate it even more. Like I was sitting there and I was like, oh yeah, these are the places that we're gonna go this episode. I really it kind of took me back to whenever I was first watching the series, because I did have to do a rewatch of the episode. It's been a while since I'd watched it, but it got me excited. Can't believe I forgot about this place. I forgot about Dorne. I forgot about Bravos and things like that. So yeah, just good to see these places again.
All right, we're gonna head off to Bravos. And like all my podcast episode, I rely on my co-host to tell me what these things actually say. So we have Arya, the waif.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And Jaqen. Is that what, Glenn?
Just think of like vanilla wafer or something,
Yeah.
but just without
wafer.
the R.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just like
Maybe.
that.
Like a waffle ball tournament.
Exactly.
Waffle ball.
Wafer ball.
All right. So Arya cleans many a body and is unhappy getting to play the game of faces. Glenn, we're gonna start off with you tonight.
Sure. Like it seems like at the beginning when the wafer is kind of telling that story to Arya. Like Arya kind of seems like pleased, like, oh, we're bonding as two girls bonding together, and then come to find out like the story was just total bullshit. And then like the part where Arya is talking to Jaqen, and then Arya's just she thinks she's like ready to take the next steps and stuff like that, but like she's trying to answer these questions that Jaqen has, and she's just being wrong. It's like when a teacher calls on you and you think you might know, but you don't really know, and then by their reaction you're clearly wrong, so you just keep throwing out everything in your arsenal just to try to please the teacher or whatever.
Stay alive.
What year was the Magna Carta? 1975. 1981.
1976.
Please, dear God, don't go.
Just be right. What are the odds? It's kind of how I feel on this podcast. You guys ask me things. It's basically Quill and Tankard pub trivia for me every time. Terrance, I really got to figure it better. But yeah, go ahead, Terrance.
Yeah, I mean, the comment made by Jaqen, we never stop playing. Like, what the hell is this? Like, no, this isn't a game. It's people's lives that are being messed with for the sake of like doing whatever it is that he's doing. I don't know if I have in my notes here playing God, but I'm kind of rethinking that.
I
just
liked
don't
yours
know.
because, I think Arya just needs to take her ball and go home because this game is no fun. I'm
Right.
just not a fan of what is going on here. Who knows what's going on? She has no clue. I don't know, but it's just, it's
What do you-
frustrating.
What do you think it's doing to Arya, like psychologically?
I don't think it's doing her well. I think it's like just damaging every last, not goodness. I don't know. I think it's going to make her question things
Well, I
because this
think-
is crazy.
I think her expectations like going in were like one thing, and then like all this stuff is she's like, this is all just like busy bullshit work or whatever. Like, why does this matter? Like, I thought I was supposed to be doing whatever this I thought was we were supposed to be doing, and now you're having me clean all these bodies and all this, hoopla. Like, get out of here.
Yep. You think you know, but you have no idea.
It almost looks like towards the beginning of this scene when she is cleaning the body that she almost kind of starts understanding it a bit. Like it's clearly she's not, but it almost seems like she falls into almost like that, hey, I'm doing work that's kind of mind numbing, but like it's kind of like meditative.
That old Texas trap.
Yeah,
The old Texas trap, as Glenn would say.
Yeah, like she's trying to accept whatever it is that she got herself into, and she wants to go with the flow. She wants to be a good little whatever the
Body
heck it is
cleaner.
she's supposed to be. Yeah.
Who knows? Benj?
So, my note on the scene, watching the scene now, I realize how well the waif actress actually acted. If you know what to look for, she's giving obvious signs of deception and like body language terminology. Her eyes, she's doing the upward look to the right because she's trying to think of a quick, response of, oh, and my mother or my stepmother, and she does up and to the right and everything, and it's actually perfectly timed so you can see where she's lying, quote unquote. She's giving Arya obvious signs to teach her, hey, I'm lying, but you're just not picking up on them. And watching it back, it was actually very well done on her part to kind of portray that, and I appreciate that. For as much crap as the wave could get, that this was a good scene.
So you're saying the person who's here to be an actor was acting well?
She was trained well of what to do.
I was just teasing that the actor literally is out there acting, which is a form of lying. So it's like, good job.
Yeah.
Luke finishes off
If you ask
here.
Michelle McLaren,
Oh,
everybody is a wonderful actor.
and they have
actress.
wonderful chemistry with whoever is out there.
Yeah, Arya and the Wave. Such great
Man,
chemistry
it was just
together.
such a joy to be on set with them.
Such a beautiful filming location as well.
This tunnel,
That warehouse.
Oh, damn.
So bright and cheerful.
the
Yeah.
warehouse where they built the Titanic, which is their their studio.
Ah,
I didn't know that.
fun fact.
There you go.
The more you know.
The thing that I really kind of took from this was she's clearly, so this is when Jaqen comes in and starts asking her these questions. Who are you? And she kind of levels with him. She's like, I'm Arya Stark. I'm from Winterfell, and all these things. And she starts telling him more and more. And she gets to Sandor, and he basically beats the shit out of her. It's like,
Sandor does.
no, Jaqen does. Thanks for the clarification. And
Or as Luke would say, Jaqen does.
and so it really seems like she's kind of lying to herself about her own feelings about Sandor. And Jaqen clearly doesn't believe her, at least. So, Abby, what do you think on her feelings on Sandor? We've talked about this previously, I know.
I don't know. I know what my feelings for him is, but I don't really know what her feelings are. I think she respects him and sees him in a different light, but she's Arya, and I mean, she can hold a grudge with the best of us. So you killed her friend. She's not over it.
Prepare to die.
My name is Arya Stark.
You killed my fat boy.
You killed my fat boy. Prepare to give me my needle back.
What does she sound like? Somebody from Dorn. My name is Arya Stark.
Indigo Martell.
Sirio Ferrero.
All right. Let's go to Arya, Jaqen, father, and the sickly girl. Arya gives the gift to a girl in need, and Jaqen prepares her to become someone else. I don't even know where to start here, guys. This is basically like my whole understanding of this whole episode falls in this scene. Let's start with you, Terrance.
Yeah, like what kind of a gift gift. I'm doing air quotes right now, guys. Gift is this, like the gift of euthanization. Like, what happened to the father of the sickly girl in this situation? How did he feel about this deception? He literally had nothing. He had zilch, zero, and he turned to this last resort to try to get his daughter well. Or if he was really a horrible person, he knew what this place was about, and that people that come in really don't come out. And then Jockin, Jesus, like fucking Jockin. He's like, nah, you're not ready to be no one. Tells that to Arya, and then he says, but you're ready to be somebody else. Like, what kind of a mindfuck game is that? And I mean, as a side note, I really do dislike Jockin as a character. Um, Not that I don't understand him. I just don't really. I I I don't see the point of having him. Like, what is he doing there? Like I mean, in earlier episodes, yeah, I saw the importance of having him, but just there, I don't understand it.
So I'm gonna jump in here because I have a side note to Terrance's side note, and I'm very upset. I think more than anything else that my feelings of Jockin have been diminished by what's going on. I feel like when we saw him before, he was a man of his word. He said, "I will do this," and he did that, and he helped Arya out. He seemed like such a good friend, helper, whatever, and now it's just confusing. So, I don't like where we're at with Jaqen. Not cool, bro. Um, and I didn't think the dad had brought the daughter there for healing. I think he knew I was under the impression he knew what they were and was like, "She's miserable all the time. This is."
Mercy.
The last resort.
Yes. So, that's where I'll end my thought for now on this and jump in on somebody else's thoughts later, but I don't know if I presumed wrongly or not about the father.
That's the feeling
Yeah.
that I get from it.
Yeah, I
That
don't know.
he's doing it because he even says, I've gone to all these different healers that he could.
Yeah.
He has no money. He's not Stannis Baratheon that could have every maester in the fucking country come and visit with his daughter. She's just miserable. And I mean, as a parent, that's like the last thing you want is for them to be living in utter agony, which she can't even get off the ground.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's not
and
really the best choice, but it's what he thinks is a choice, and he makes it for her. She
Yeah.
actually makes the choice.
Exactly. And one thing that it's played up is that they don't really go into last season with Sandor, which is a huge turning point, or not a turning point, but guide point for Arya, is give him the gift of mercy. He mentions to her, uh, when they kill the guy that they killed on the side of the road, where he says, "This is where the heart is." In the book wise, there was something, give him the gift of mercy, give him, an honorable death, let him pass in peace, and that's what the Hound kind of instills in her. And that plays right into this scene. His daughter is suffering. She is, the father is suffering. The only thing that could be mercy is death. And so, in that instance, it's what is needed to be done. And so him bringing the daughter there for that, he needs the help, and the only help that is left is the god of death, or
Yeah.
the faceless.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it makes me wonder how the people see this place, because it's a massive building, right? It's like we liken it to initially whenever I saw it, I was like, oh, it's some sort of a temple, it's a church, it's a place of worship, it's a place where you pay tribute to the gods or something like that. It's and that's where I kind of got the impression was like, well, you don't really go to a church to die. You might go to a church to ask for forgiveness, or for like if you have nowhere else to turn to. um but I think that's where I thought that you know the father would have taken her as a last resort to say, hey, heal her. Is there anything that you're able to do for her. I never got the impression of kind of a, just a giving up, a euthanization,
Right.
ending this girl's life.
I have questions about what this place is too. One of my biggest things coming from this scene is Arya helps. I saw it as her helping her. She helps her out of compassion, but bearing the bearing death's weight, it's such a huge responsibility and a burden. And I feel like this was an empathetic decision that she made this time to assist death. But I don't know if she always gets to choose if she becomes a faceless man or if it will always be her choice. Does she have a choice about who dies or why? Is it always out of compassion, or is she going to be like a hitman? And who decides then? So it just really makes me question, again, what the hell are these people? What are their motives?
Good question, Abby.
Thank you. Now for no answers. Dun, dun, dun. Glenn.
Sure. Yeah, just to bring it, a lot of my notes tonight are just going to be about like relating it to real life, I guess. Anyways, Arya is like the unimportant clerk at a store, and Jaqen is the store manager. And like a customer comes up and he has like some kind of request, but it's like it's too early in the process to like ask for a manager. So I'm gonna ask this unimportant
low-level employee.
Sure, real quick, so they could just hopefully answer my question. We can, move on with our lives. And Arya actually like handles herself well, and it turns out the manager was kind of like overlooking and watching this transaction take place the whole time. Seeing this, the manager then gives the so-called unimportant clerk more responsibilities. So I think that's what's happening here.
So she's becoming a slightly more important clerk, potentially.
An advanced clerk.
Advanced clerk.
Advanced clerk.
The clerk trainee.
Or clerk. Good clerk.
Lead clerk.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Head.
Yeah.
Yes. Ben, you got to jump in here.
Yeah, so my note kind of goes along with Glenn's to the point of Arya's like, yeah, I've worked here like a month. I know what I'm doing. I know how the shit works. Just come on, just kind of jumping right in, trying to take the bull by the horn when really you have no fucking clue what 99% of the work we do here is. We take in bodies and people die from drinking from that fountain or from that pool.
What if somebody falls in?
Good question.
Oh no.
But yeah, I'd kind of go on that. She's been put on the fast track to lower middle management.
A more important clerk.
Exactly.
I feel like that's like a book title. The more important clerk.
That's Clerks 3, whenever that comes out, right? The more important clerk.
Yep.
Get on it, Kevin Smith.
It's like
The clerk of
it's like
utmost importance.
it's like a bad Professor Lupin at this point, right? Here, drink this. It helps. It really helps.
It's chocolate. It's good for you.
I like Johnson Baptiste. Shift lead at the temple of the many-faced God.
Right.
Luke, take it away.
So whenever Jaqen kind of sees this, and he's basically like summons her to go down this staircase. Is it just me that gets a feeling of like it looks like an Assassin's Creed mission? Like you're following this guy like down into like a dungeon, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna start climbing these walls or whatever.
But you can't get far away from him, like 20 seconds away, or
you have to stay within the conversation bubble.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just like the look of it or like the fact that she has to follow, and these pictures are kind of dark, but
hold triangle to pace.
Right? Yeah. You have to use eagle vision every once in a while just because it's so fucking dark.
Right.
I didn't get that vibe, mostly because I have no idea what you're talking about, but I did have some other feelings
I didn't
towards
get that
it.
vibe because I don't know.
Right. I'm not saying it's wrong.
Assassino!
But
Infidel.
I had this feeling that and I don't even know what you call this place after the tunnel, she gets into what I called the mask gallery.
Okay.
And does anybody else feel like it's when the beast unveils the library to Belle?
Yes.
Oh my God, yes.
Like
Sorry.
it's and then it was like almost kind of cool. And then as she's like looking around, I'm like, holy cow, that's a lot of faces. That's a lot of masks. I immediately flipped to an R.L. Stein in the Haunted Mask episode
There you go.
from Goosebumps. And I'm like, no, this ain't cool. Like, hopefully they come off. I'm under the assumption they just come off and don't stick to you. But yeah, that's what I was getting there. I'll have to
Well,
check.
in fairness, we know that. That's not a. I'm not spoiling anything by saying you're correct. We've seen that.
Yeah,
We've
it
seen
comes.
done it.
Jack and take his
Yeah.
some sort
Jock
of
and face off.
Yeah, I didn't actually think they were gonna like stick to her face and attack her, but it just was like these masks. I'm like, oh god. And I thought that was a movie. I didn't realize it was episodes of a
It
show.
was actually a
What,
3-part episode.
Goosebumps?
Yeah.
There was a movie. We
Or
had it on
Beauty and the
VHS.
Beast.
That's what I thought, but I think it was just the episodes together or something. I don't know.
Yes.
Probably.
I
Are
looked
You
at
Afraid of the
the-
Dark was episodes. I know that.
That much we can confirm. Can confirm.
Confirmed. And
As a kid who read a shit ton of Goosebumps, yes, there were Goosebumps television show. It was the piss poorest produced show you'd ever seen.
well, this
But
movie was scary as shit, so it obviously had to have been a movie version of it then.
Gave you
'Cause-
goosebumps.
Terrifying. And my last note on this, and then I'll let Luke and the rest of you finish out, is my little fun fact. This is the longest note I've ever published in the workbooks.
this is
Hey,
true.
let's.
Cheers.
Yep. Luke, take her away with your last thoughts while I get my wine.
Didn't you just say you were gonna say your longest note?
No,
I
that
said
was
that
she
was my
had-
longest note.
She had like
More than that.
I was
she
already
had
for
like
it.
counterpoints for like everybody's
Okay.
note, I think.
So my last note here is it's kind of in the Jockin and Arya conversation, and he's kind of asking her, if she's gonna be able to sacrifice everything to become a part of this no one club, and he's basically saying, can you actually lose yourself in the moment?
You want it.
Never let it go, and
we get one shot.
Mom spaghetti.
Mom spaghetti.
Better never-
That's what he's trying to get
Never
at,
let go.
and.
Catelyn made good spaghetti.
And I think that's kind of what he's getting at of like, hey, can you completely sacrifice yourself? And that's when he's saying, not yet. I don't think you can because you're sucking at all these other side quests here in the temple. But we can go ahead and force your hand on and make you be somebody else. And hopefully that walking in somebody else's shoes, which she's done over and over, playing Ari and all these other characters that she's been. I think she just needs to get out of her Arya Stark mode, which is what Jockin's going for.
Never.
Yeah, she definitely needs to be able to flip that switch. And I think that's what he's looking for is like, hey, you know what? You want to become nobody? Okay, you're not quite there at all, but you're ready for a change. You're ready to become somebody. And so that's definitely something that that I think is gonna fuel Arya, and for her to be like, well, okay, I'm ready to become somebody. Who the hell am I ready to become? So
I hope it
Yeah.
feels her to go back on a boat and go back to the other side of the world. Jeez Louise. I don't know. Okay. Are we ready to move on? Jojen train?
Jojen Train.
Jojen Jet.
Jojen
All right.
Jet.
Damn. Jojen
Jojo.
Jet, we will be listening to the Outskirts of Valyria CD. So,
Outskirts of Valyria.
CD. Love it.
yep. So we have Jorah and Tyrion. Tyrion tells why he was in Essos and informs the cub about the bear. Aww.
I like that note.
I liked that one too. That was a good note. So, Benj, we'll start with you.
So my note on that's one hell of a way to find out about your dad's death. It was just kind of an offhanded comment of, your dad deserved better. And he just kind of, like, like he's thinking his dad's still well and good up at the wall. Has no information. And you could, it's a shitty way to find out, and you got to kind of feel for him, even though they both knew he had sullied the family name. They never lost love for one another. You always got the respect. You got the respect from Jorah about Jorah. When he gave Jon Longclaw, he said, this was meant for my son, but at least he had the decency to leave it behind before he fled. And you can tell that he respected that, and he still respected his son. And so it's a touching scene, just seeing the hurt on Jorah's face.
I also think it's interesting that I know Jorah's far away, but he's far away from everybody now. And to have like news like that, and there's not really friends around. He knows nothing of either world at this point, I feel like. And Terrance, I had the same thought as you. So
Yeah. I was really wondering how close was he to his dad, because Jorah is half a world away. Well, not really half a world away, but he's across a sea that's pretty narrow.
Very, very narrow. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Actually isn't that far, but I mean, it's like it's like your dad lives in Texas and you live like in St. Louis or something like that, some random city, right?
Some random
totally
city.
random.
By a narrow river.
A narrow river.
Yeah, exactly. So it just kind of made me wonder, he seemed pretty upset by the news. So I was just like, well, how close was he to his dad being this far away from him?
Yeah, I think like, didn't he get exiled like when he was kind of an adult almost?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They probably spent like a lot of time, and like at the end of the day, like you're still father and son. I mean, unless you're like a extreme piece of shit.
Either one of you.
And hadn't Jorah already taken the black by the time he?
Well before. Yep.
Yeah. So it was, Jorah had already separated himself a bit by that point.
Glenn, please bring up the best point of the day.
So like, it looks like the scene, the beginning of it, Jorah has a grayscale wristwatch because it seems like he's checking his wrist to see how advanced like the grayscale is spreading, I guess, if you will.
He's telling time by it now.
But yeah, it seems like a kind of a time mechanism to where, hey, what time is it? Oh, the grayscale says 6:30.
You could say he's running out of time.
Yeah. Good joke.
Thanks, Glenn.
And then Tyrion, I just like how he's just like, you're a terrible traveling companion. And like he's like, eventually he's like, you didn't think to ask any of these questions, like pretty much, why the hell was I in a whorehouse in Volantis, and like all this stuff, and like I can't really recall many instances where Jorah has like pretty much brought up anything about past or present. He just kind of like goes with the flow and doesn't really like talk about anything.
Yeah, the only thing he's really done with that is like a little bit of history for Daenerys, like back in the day, but that's not really talking about himself much. She kind of forced him to talk about like, hey, so what the fuck
what are
you
the customs
doing here?
of the Dothraki and shit like
right.
that.
And she did kind of force his hand to talk about his old wife and stuff like that at one point, but he definitely was like, can we like change this topic pretty quick? Like let's not dig into this.
Dig.
Rather not.
Digs.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, as Tyrion kept pressing him, he was like, "Don't you ever shut up?" And Tyrion's like, "Well, I was locked in a crate, So yeah, I did shut up.
I can.
He's like, we're not traveling companions. We're traveling together. If that means
we didn't meet here. We just happened.
We just met
to meet
here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Neville.
Yep. Luke.
So when Tyrion, says that Tywin was, kind of going to Bangtown on the woman that Tyrion loved, Jorah's kind of nod of understanding there, because he was like, this is like the first he's heard that, like, oh, you killed your dad. Like, what the hell? Like, why the hell would you ever do that? And when he says, well, I found her, found the woman I love in his bed, Jorah's just kind of like, oh, all right, I get it. Like, I'm with you. Justified in Jorah's book.
Yeah, but I mean, there was context behind that. I feel like he should have mentioned, oh, I killed my dad. Why? Because he was going to Bangtown on the woman I love. But not to mention, I was treating the woman I love like absolute shit because I was, caught up in another little issue with another woman. So I mean, he could have added some context behind that. I feel like there still would have been understanding, but still,
I like
mean,
Terrance's stance on Shay here. That's a fresh take from the group I'm with.
really.
Oh yeah. But I kind of went on to their side. I went to the dark side, hating her when she
Ooh.
testified against him. Not cool, girl.
Mm.
Not cool at all.
He was not that bad to her in the show,
Yep.
at all.
But I think from her perspective,
He gave her a shit ton of gold to get the fuck out of Dodge.
Save her
all
life.
it said was, yeah, I get it.
She
get
didn't.
it.
Sorry.
She didn't
The
get it.
heart wants what the heart wants. Okay.
Wait, Luke, he was absolutely horrible to Shay in the TV show. I mean, he was like, "You're a whore. You're nothing but a whore, and you're always gonna be a whore." And she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go be a whore."
She set
And
the
she-
context for that at the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, he only really did that at the very end to get her to finally leave so he could save her because his dad just literally threatened her,
Right.
saying, if I find that whore, I will hang her.
I mean, he
But
had
she
it.
didn't care.
Yeah, he did it with the best intentions.
You
but
got to be
still, it
mean
was
to
just
get the point across, I think.
Rip
Gotta
the
be-
Band-Aid off.
Yep, that's what it was. It was the clean slice, I guess. All right. So, did I miss anybody there? I don't think so.
I mean, you got all our notes, but I think you're still missing us.
Oh, it's because
No.
I'm not there anymore.
Oh.
Wait.
You're missing your wine.
Yep,
I know.
Glenn's been not missing your wine for you.
I'm glad somebody's enjoying it. We have sorry, this half screen BS over here. It always kills me when I gotta be this guy up here, the big guy in charge. So Jorah and Tyrion and the slavers. Jorah tells of his faith, and the two are confronted by some man peddlers. Who wants the cock joke?
I
Or
got
should
it.
I steal it for you? Sorry. Go for it, Ben.
Well, mine is because they're like, "Hey, cut the dwarf's cock off. Go for good amount of money." Well, how will they know it's a dwarf's cock? Will it be dwarf size? Think again. I love that look from the slavers, like,
Now they're
okay,
curious.
It's a dwarf size. It's just
It'll
going
be
to
a
be
dwarf-sized
smaller
cock.
than your average.
guess again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of the best Tyrion lines of the series so far. Like, guess again. Like he's really saving his skin based on that, and that's Tyrion's pride, right? Is what he can do, supposedly. I mean, I'm not going to go into that, but that's his pride and joy. But this also shows how Tyrion is quickly able to manipulate the situation to his benefit to ensure his survival, as he always does. If you guys know, this is a running trend with Tyrion, in that particular moment. And also, like, what the hell? Like, I can understand, like, the slit his throat part, but let's add insult to injury by cutting off his cock.
Yeah. It's crazy. Glenn.
Sure. Yeah. I got like a lot of similar notes to everybody, but I think one thing I will say is Tyrion is just like he's just such the wordsmith, if you will. As they're about to cut off his cock. I mean, we all remember that. Without any questions asked, and he just kind of flips the script on the slavers a bit and just kind of, oh, well, we're valuable. Like, you need us. Like, you can't just cut off my cock or whatever. Like, and then like this guy over here, he's done shit too or whatever. You can't just dispose of us. Like, you need us now.
We have value. Look at all the value that we have.
Luca Ferocious.
Kind of right along with what Glenn was saying there. Tyrion Wordsworth Esquire. He really starts asking some really good questions of Jorah as well, and he's like, "Hey, think about this," type questions like, "Why Daenerys? And Jorah has a pretty good answer to that. He says, I don't believe in the gods or anything like that. But when you see a young girl go into a blazing fire with 3 stone eggs and they hatch, that's something special.
It's pretty neat.
Pretty neat.
Pretty good.
And he also questions, why would Westeros in general accept her? Okay, the daughter of the Mad King. Once that was usurped, things were pretty good for a little while. I don't know if the instability throwing another, in their minds, kind of wild card into this is necessarily going to be the easiest thing for them to follow when they're like, hey, potentially we're close with something to settle down. It's just, I like Tyrion kind of having really good, important questions for Jorah. And Jorah has good answers, I think he does. It's good to see them kind of getting on the same page a bit. And there's also a reference to jousting, which is a fancy game for fancy lads. So I thought that was worth noting.
Right. And you see the previous scene where Jorah's not asking any questions. Tyrion calls him out on it. Now Tyrion's starting to ask these questions because he was just escaping, killing his father in Shea Stadium, and then being in that wooden box. All this has kind of happened quickly. He hasn't really had time to think about what exactly are they getting into, and especially getting kidnapped. He doesn't. It's a great time to ask all these questions of, hey, what the fuck are we doing, and why?
I found this scene just a very unfortunate capture. They're still on their way to the Queen, which I think is where everybody was kind of going anyways. So I don't even know if it's a minor setback. They might get there quicker. They don't have a boat anymore.
They were walking.
So I think this is a pretty good. I think they've leveled up here. I think it's going to be okay. Yep. That's what I think. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. So we think that you should go to Ice and Fire Con. It is fun. We will have so much fun. And while you're there, you can see us sporting grayscale watches. Not really. I just made that up.
Grayscale watches. No, that's a good idea, though.
Dude,
I think it's a super good idea.
That's a
Don't
good
steal
idea.
it, jerks. So, no, you guys over there
Don't steal
can.
it,
The
jerk.
rest of you.
That was the inspiration.
I know. That's what I was
You're
talking
the
to the rest of them. We'll make
I
some
am so
grayscale
tempted.
watches.
So
Yeah.
tempted to make grayscale watches now.
Mm-hmm.
That
It'll be a
sounds
thing.
great.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna be the trend, right?
Trend?
Trendy.
Apple
Grayscale
Watch?
watches, trendy.
You
No,
stick to
it's
my
grayscale.
grayscale watch.
Oh, man. Sometimes things just flow out, and I should really stop them before they get out, because that's a great idea.
You gave grayscale to my Asian.
Oh, God.
You should go to Ice and Fire Con, and you should use our promo code DRINKS at checkout to save some cash. I don't know how you want me to say that. But that's cool. And
Quiche. This is
And-
another form of cash.
we will see you there. iceandfirecon.com for more details. Let's head to King's Landings. Landing. Just one. We have Microfinger, Lancel, and Cersei. Lancel cautions the brothel keeper. Microfinger makes a revelation of the Bolton's betrayal. Luke.
We both peddle fantasies, Brother Lancel. Mine just happened to be entertaining. Bam, bitches! He's just like...
Suck it.
He's basically just like, suck it. That's,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good line right there. Like,
Oh.
neither of what we're doing is real, so fuck you.
I threw a bozo in here because I like it when you guys say that. So there you go. Yep, I knew you'd do it for me. So this bozo was irritating when he was just Lancel Lannister. And as brother Lancel, he's even more obnoxious. Lion King advice. Bro, run. Run away and never return.
There's our quota Lion King reference.
Check.
You know. Bozo, Lion King.
Bozo.
Bam.
Can I just try my microfinger? I love how you call it microfinger impression here. Let's
Go
see.
for
Yeah,
it.
please.
We both peddle fantasies, Brother Lancel. Mine just happened to be entertaining. No, that wasn't good. Never mind.
No, that was about a match of
Right
accent
there.
number 3. That was about a match of accent number 3 from Microfinger that we've had. So you're good.
Both pet. Okay, hang on.
Hey, Terrance, crank your mic up just a little bit before you do it.
Yes, will do. Thank you. We both peddle fantasies, Brother Lancel. Mine just happened to be entertaining.
That's pretty good, dude.
Good
Sorry.
stuff.
I'm trying to clap, but I got glasses.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so yep. Luke, me, what? Let's go with good old Glenny Dog over there.
Glenny Dog. Yeah, like Microfinger, very good at deception here. Like, he always seems to have like something up his sleeve and pretty much can counter depending on whatever the other party, in this case Cersei, says or wants or needs. But I just find it pretty cool how he like kind of develops this plan for Sansa, and then can like turn around and tell Cersei that he has knowledge of the whereabouts of Sansa and like all this stuff, and just sounds so like trustworthy in the process. And but all the while it's kind of leading them down a certain path, and they can't really see it very well.
I
If that
don't think I
if
can
that makes
see it.
sense.
Yeah.
It
No,
makes sense
absolutely.
that I shouldn't trust anything that comes out of his mouth,
Yeah.
but like I don't know where he's going. I still don't know what his end game is. I don't know whose side he's on. So he needs to go away. He can also run far away.
So the thing
Bastard.
about the game that Micro is playing is, I mean, he's got the Vale, he's got the Boltons to deal with, and he's got Cersei to deal with, and he's kind of giving all three like information about the other two, and like trying to be cool
It's our
with
fourth.
like two of like two of them in all cases. He's playing all three teams,
Hedge your bets and you'll never lose.
and that's exactly what he's doing. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a master manipulator. He is. He regularly was very, very fraudulent in his record keeping, which I don't think the show got a
No,
ton
they
into.
never really
They
covered that.
very
Or not
briefly
much.
kind of touch on it, that like Tyrion was like, I'm having a hard time figuring out what's going on. But
Yeah.
like he's basically the reason the realm was bankrupt when Robert was in power. Robert didn't do, I mean, feasting that much. No, like I just don't think that's. I don't think that's what the case was.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And so going into my note, it's basically fucking 4D chess from Microfinger. I attribute him to the underwear gnomes of South Park. Step 1, save Sansa. Step 2, sell Sansa. Step 3, rat out Sansa. Step 4, profit. Or step 4, move. Step 5, profit. Some way or another, he's gonna use this to better himself. But he sees, and I don't even think he sees an end game. He just knows how to turn when the river turns, kind of thing. Like he sees where it's going, and he's like, okay, let's shift.
So one of my thoughts I had on this when Microfinger's talking to Cersei is she kind of basically stops him and gives him kind of like that's a bullshit thing. Like we know the Boltons are, I can't remember what the quote is, and I wish I would have had it.
Total dicks.
Yeah, she basically just is like, okay, I'm not believing that part of your lie. And when she said it, I immediately was like, well, yep, that's Tywin's daughter right there. Like, and I don't normally feel that about Cersei. And I mention it only because of where we're going to next. But so I had this kind of feeling like, oh shit, okay, Cersei, like, all right, that's cool. Anybody else have anything Microfinger, Bolton betrayal,
I think it's
Lancel related?
really, really interesting that Micro is playing the cards he is to become Warden of the North. That's a pretty big power move, and
Yep.
even here, Cersei's like, because he kind of offers up the Vale soldiers to go take out the Boltons or whatever, and she's like, "You are good at money and shit. You're not really a commander." And he's just like, "Well, fine. Sit back and let them take each other out, and then you can kind of mop up, at the end." And I mean, he's still right. And
Yeah.
I don't know, like I just don't know that. Say that happens, and he becomes Warden of the North. Like then he's got Warden of the North. He still has the title of Lord of Harrenhal, which is the seat of the Riverlands over Riverrun, even, and also a hold on the Vale. I mean, that's 3 out of 7.
He's starting to monopolize Westeros.
He's getting pieces in place. At least he thinks
Plus,
he
he
is. He's trying to.
bankrupted them.
I honestly feel that's what Littlefinger's end game is that he wants to control as much as he can, and it doesn't matter what he has to do or who he has to hurt to be able to get there, and he sees it as a numbers game. Like the more numbers that I have, the more powerful I'm going to be. So if he has like 4 out of the 7, he's like, hey, I have more than half, so I have the majority here.
And
But
he's gonna put a house on it,
yeah,
then a
exactly.
hotel.
Exactly. You land at my hotel, you pay me $4,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's the way that he is. He's a manipulator. He loves to do it. He's good at doing it. And he likes money too. He loves his money.
And remember, he's got friends with the Tyrells. He's close in with them, so we can almost consider them a 3.5
Yeah.
of what could end up. But it all plays back to his speech with Varys, season 3, episode 9. The climb. The
I
climb.
want everything.
Chaos is a ladder.
Mhm.
Chaos breeds everything. So if you can birth out a scheme or a plot or an end game from chaos, then that's everything. And that's what he's doing. He's creating chaos by delivering Sansa to the Boltons and then telling Cersei, oh, the Boltons have Sansa. Why don't you go deal with it? But Stannis is coming down. And so at some point, there's going to be shit. And hey, I can step in and get this. Same thing he did with Lysa in the Vale to take over, Lord Protector of the Vale. Same thing he did getting Harrenhal, like Luke said, by bringing the Tyrells up, to say at the Battle of Blackwater. He creates chaos to be the savior of chaos. And from there, that's where his goldenrod is just, he's just ready to go anytime that,
Right, he's got a solution.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Microfinger has just transformed right in front of me during this conversation. Like his threat is so much larger than I had thought. I'd always just kind of seen him as just grimy, self-serving,
that's what he wants,
deceitful, instead of like a power player here. He's gonna let everybody else fight the battles.
Well, Abby,
that's creepy.
Yeah, Abby, you're completely right. It's like you don't know Littlefinger's end game. Hell, I don't even know Littlefinger's end game. It's like, what is he trying to achieve? What does he want? Does he want to create the chaos, or does he want the power? Or does he want the power and the chaos together, but he wants them to work like hand in hand? It's just like we don't know what it is that he wants. Yeah, and I don't know how, I don't know how he's going about doing what he's doing and why he's going about doing what he's doing. The notes that I have on the section are, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. They're notes that I was just thinking of. Isn't it nice, like, how the formalities are still recognized when each of them knows that they're peddling bullshit to one another, like the king this, or I live to serve, or forgive me, Lord Baelish. It's just like, cut the shit. You want this, I want this, and I did this to get this, and it's just like, stop talking so formal whenever you guys know that you're about to bullshit each other.
That is a level of I don't know, high social elitist that I will never have. It could never come to me. I will just. That's okay with me. All right. Are we ready for good old Lady Olenna, Marjorie,
Sure.
Cersei? All right. So Olenna. Okay. Olenna advises her granddaughter and makes Cersei an offer to continue peace. Luke.
I didn't trust your father. I didn't particularly like him, but I respected him. He was no fool. He understood that sometimes we must work with our rivals rather than destroy them. House Lannister has no rival. Like,
Yeah.
shut up. Like, no.
Yeah, I believe that.
It's just, like, that's like the worst attitude. Olenna is 100% right. You are not your father.
So then
on
how
Maury.
percentage would you say Cersei is?
Well, I think
much-
she's
what
about the
percentage
person.
Of Tywin?
No,
No,
you
so-
she said House Lannister has no rival.
Oh,
That's
she's
if you put a
0%.
You said
Right.
Elaine is 100% right, so Cersei has to be 0 then.
Cersei is 0% right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I was. That's the answer I was looking.
Yep.
I thought also that thinking you have, or just believing it, like willing yourself to believe House Lannister has no rival. This is where the downfall from where I felt okay about Cersei last scene to immediately this. To quote the gone but never forgotten Tywin close in my heart, "You're not as smart as you think you are. Stupid Cersei. She's just dumb." That's it
Yeah.
for that one. Benj.
Ah, yes, the famously tart-tongued Queen of Thorns. Yes, and the famous tart queen, Cersei. It's just a great fucking interaction between, because as Terrance had said, respecting the formalities and respecting the the king here and the queen there. There's none of that going on with this. Olena's like, cut the bullshit. Here's what's going on. You're a tart. I'm a bitch. We know that. Done. Fine. Let's move on. And also, the first time Queen of Thorns is spoken in the show is a note I have written in my notes here. So thank you, Abby,
Is it
for
really
Yeah, just
in your
looking at
notes right
Benji's
here?
Notes and
Mhm.
let's
Hey.
give Benji.
Yeah.
quite literally is. So
Whoops.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Whoops.
nope, I'm okay with it. I got the point.
Still not a derogatory term, but that's
That's
I thought
what
mine
the
should count. 'Cause it was probably the most derogatory.
It
of
even
them all.
is. Yeah, Glenn, yours was spot on. We could never mind. I can't even say it here on air.
But it
Olenna
wasn't
says that.
He said it
Olenna
before.
says that.
He said it to Tywin a couple episodes.
No,
yeah.
no, the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I know the one you're thinking of, and
We just
she
moved
says
past
it to
this.
Tywin.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, I know the one you're thinking of, but she says it to Tywin back when they're talking.
I wish they would have gotten married. That would have been amazing. Glenn?
Sure, like I think Lady Olenna is just not fucking around at this point. Like she comes in, after the whole, the deal goes down or whatever, and then she's like talking to Marjorie, and like she's like, "Let me deal with Cersei. Like nothing, pretty much nothing against you, but like I'm the heavyweight here, and like Cersei's another heavyweight. Like it needs to be us that tango together." And you could probably do a good job, but like I'm the bad bitch here,
Mhm.
And she is.
and she is.
Yeah.
Terrance?
Yeah, I mean, it's just really kind of piggybacking on what Ben and Glenn said. That I mean, I'm not going to repeat it, but Cersei. What surprises me is Cersei just keeps playing the game. Is keeping the formalities and all that good stuff. And at the end, it's just like Lady Olenna is like, I'm done. I'm done. Just stands up and walks out, gets frustrated, really. With like, I remember I used to have, I don't know if I should say it on air, but I used to have an ex with a mother like that. Oh my God, she about drove freaking nuts. She would always represent the formalities, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. You're, I know you're the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. And it's really frustrating to call her out on that, and it's just she keeps playing a game, and that's what Cersei's doing at this point. Olenna's calling her out on her BS. She says, let's cut it. You're smart, I'm smart, whatever. This is what I want. Let's talk. And Cersei's just like, no, 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 no. She keeps playing a game.
She's two-faced. That's what we like to call her. Ooh, terrible.
Terrible.
Right.
She's just
terrible. She's just terrible.
I kind of
she
like
is.
whenever Cersei's like kind of writing something down or whatever, and Lady Olenna's just like, you know what? Put the pen down. Like, we both know you're not writing anything.
Bullshit. Bologna sandwiches on that.
This bitch. I hate this bitch.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to some more Loras, Marjorie, Olenna, Cersei, Tommen, the High Sparrow, and Oliver.
Yep. Oliver. Yep.
Loras.
Oliver Twist.
I've heard of him. Loras and Marjorie are questioned about buggery and are sold out by Oliver. Tommen lets his queen be taken away. I mean, pardon my French if you're a religious man, but holy shit. Sorry, I had to.
I am a religious man. Okay, then get the fuck out of my cab and go to church.
Church. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I just finished reading it. I just had to do it because my first original note was just, holy shit. And then I was like, hold on, wait.
She read it. She liked it. You should
So now
read
Did you actually finish?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Nice. Nice. So you know more than Luke. That's awesome.
The first time for everything, I might have learned to walk before him, but that's probably where I topped out at being smarter. But that's okay. Luke, smart guy over there. Go for it.
So kind of throughout this whole scene, it really seems like the High Sparrow is kind of going hook, line, sinker, and kind of two flowery fish take the bait. If Loras just would have been like, he was my squire, helping me with my armor, and like all of that was basically part of his duty. It's pretty easy enough to like see the birthmark when you're like, working together and those kinds of things. Like, hey, like
in the
whatever.
Dressing room. Yeah.
Like, but jumping across to fucking attack him, unless it's like, hey, I'm defending the slander, which is, I don't think that's what the context is really saying. It's really just kind of like, hey, he's right. It's exactly what he's saying. And like, come on, Loras, like, just keep your cool and be like, no, he's full of shit. Like, yeah, I have a birthmark. Not a big deal. Like, okay, where's some real proof?
Yeah, that's great advice for Loras. I also think Glenn has another approach.
Sure. All right. First of all, for the kids at home, if you don't know what buggery is, it is a noun. It means anal intercourse.
Okay.
So,
all right. I'm glad you cleared that up. I had like 3 different definitions. I didn't know which one to pick.
Yeah.
Buggery is always said in an English accent, though.
Buggery. Anyways, like I think the Tyrells really messed up here by not having a lawyer present when being questioned. I mean, you see what could happen, if you don't have a lawyer.
Or if you have a RAV4.
Or if you have a RAV4, because now RAV4s are coming out with murder detection.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Blood splatter detection kits. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Heard that.
Okay. Covered by trees.
Or your name's Avery. Yeah.
Okay, just don't take any more because like this show, I haven't finished that one, so shush. Terrance.
Yeah, so High Inquisitor Gargamel, the High Sparrow, pulls out all the stops, really. No one's exempt from his questioning. And Marjorie has no problem in lying to protect her brother. Do you swear on the gods? And she's like, yeah, I swear.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally, right? And that's why I love Marjorie, because she's like really no F's given, right? This is very, very dangerous territory because when the bluff is called, it sets a new precedent that no one is safe, not even the queen. and it kind of makes me wonder, is the king even safe at this point? But guys, what bothers me the most is that Tommen just sits there like he's in a whole new world, still wide-eyed as ever, and allows his queen to be accused. I mean, if this was Robert Baratheon, first of all, this meeting wouldn't even be happening. But if it were, he'd be standing up for his queen, regardless if he didn't like her or not. I mean, it's just it. Tommen is like a passive king. He's a backseat king. He's
Wouldn't have happened if Tywin was still there.
yeah.
Way
Or
to
if
go,
Joffrey
Tyrion.
was there.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
I'm glad he's
Or
gone.
if Robert
Joffrey
was
would
still there.
Joffrey would have had this guy's head on a spike already.
Yes.
The High Sparrow's head on a spike.
Ares would have just burnt them all.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I think you're exactly right, Terrance. And like the part of it that also kind of is an issue here is the aging up of Tommen for the show for some of the scenes that they had with Marjorie earlier on. It would make a lot more sense if it was the original kid that played Tommen for the way this is written. Like, his inaction, his inexperience makes a lot more sense when he's a 9-year-old kid. This 14, 16-year-old kid, no. That's just wrong.
Still stupid, but you have like hormones and raging through you that are gonna get you aggressive and make it stop. At least stand there and take a stand.
Yeah, I mean,
Stand there and take a stand, Abby. Nice job.
and those hormones mixed with the king's word, as it were, is very dangerous, very powerful. I mean, we saw that with Joffrey, all over the place. But Tommen seems to have more of a level head than Joffrey. But I think that's just because he's so inexperienced. He doesn't know what he wants. He's always been coddled and things like that. So that's why he's just sitting there taking this all in, like, oh my God, this is my first time here. Like, where's the popcorn? It's just not kingly what he's doing.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
It's my day off. Supposed to be playing with Sir Pounce.
I've got Netflix waiting for me in my chambers.
I call Marjorie Sir Pounce.
Ben, you got anything else here?
My only note of this is, nothing good has ever come out of Dorne. Even just having a fucking birthmark of the place can fuck you over.
Unfortunate, yeah.
So, Abby, you want to take us to our next scene?
Thanks, Ab. Good work.
Abby, you're on the clock.
She is buggered off. Oh, there she is. So, Abby, my note was, nothing good has ever come from Dorne. Even just having a birthmark of it can fuck you over. So, how about we go to our next scene? You're on mute.
Go, Jen,
Perfect.
go.
I'm unmoved. Okay, our next scene. I was even saving you. Dorne.
Hey!
Hey. Darn.
Hey, Dorn, huh? Sounded like Watto's hut, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Dorn, huh?
Dorn, eh?
Tristame.
Huh?
Tristane.
Trisket.
Tristane?
Just call him Trisket.
Tristane.
How is that Tristane? I guess it is. Whatever.
Tristane,
Whatever. I'm not going to question it. Tristane.
Tristane.
Marcella. Dorian.
Duran.
And
Hungry like the wolf.
yep. An Alero.
Ario Hota.
Area host. Yeah,
Sure.
my joke
Speed
failed on
hotel.
this host. Sorry, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I have no idea who these people are. That's okay. Tristane can't wait. Duran and Ario discuss protections. Anybody?
Protection.
Yeah. I guess I'll kick this off because I have a short thing here. But Tristame is like, I mean, Tristame and Marcella it reads like a bad Spanish novella. Like, Marcella, I cannot wait for you. We will be together. And then, I mean, without the crying, of course, but still, I mean, it's like, it's so corny because she's so young still and so naive. She's not even, I'm not even sure she's fully grasped, like, she's at where she's at and she's about to marry who she's going to marry. He's like, you're for me and I'm for you and all this other stuff. I mean, ugh.
I'm right there with you. I just not really vested in these two. I really couldn't care less. I don't feel like it's very believable, or I don't know if it's like forced for the show because it needs to be in there.
Dang, tell 'em how you really feel.
I'm like trying here, but this whole like Dorn stuff, I don't really care about them. I feel the same about the Xenia warrior snake princesses. It's just I'm trying, but yeah, that's all I got on it. So somebody who has a better insight.
Just
Continue.
on the Tristane Marcella stuff here. Does anyone else get the feeling that it's kind of like, oh, like a 15-year-old boy with like a 14-year-old girl? He's like, hey, let's just, we're not married yet, but like let's just go try it out. Kind of like
It's fine. Yeah.
it's fine. Like he's like pressuring her into doing more.
Let's
Does
play.
anyone else
Let's
get
play
that
a
feeling?
house.
Let's play.
Well, it kind of goes into my note of when they start walking away. She's like, "How many girls have you brought to the water gardens?" He's like, "We don't need to talk about that now." You know what? In fairness, being anything related to fucking Oberyn, she's not wrong for asking that. How many girls has he actually brought down there? Because he is not inexperienced. Let's just be honest. He's the fucking Prince of Dorne. It's
Yeah. I think maybe that's another reason why I'm having not trouble like caring about him, but this whole realm is aged down. So I've had to just like not deal with, but like come to terms with like Dany's younger than I would feel comfortable being like, yeah, she's a woman and ready to be married and do these things. But these two to me look like teenagers. They're like, oh, we love each other. And I'm like, hey, you're idiots. I just the believability of we're meant to be together forever is just, I think it's my cynical 30-year-old self, but that's what it is. Glenn, I think we got you.
Sure. Yeah, we see kind of on the other side of this. Where's that next scene? I think it's the next scene. Never mind.
Are we ready to go to the next scene?
No.
Did you not say yours? No, you didn't.
No.
Sorry, Luke.
So this is the first time not the first time this episode that we see Ario Hota, and he is such a damn badass. Like I love the axe. Like look at that fucking thing. It's just awesome. And Doran's kind of like, you haven't had to use that axe in a long time. I hope you remember how. And he's just like, I remember how. I don't know. I love him.
Yeah, it's like a big staff with like a cool looking. I don't know if you got a picture.
Yeah, it's.
You can kind of see it, but yeah,
it's
in there.
It's
a nice little, almost like a sword ish.
Right. Yeah, it's like a long staff with an axe head on it. I think it's awesome. And if you know the reference, he kind of the actor kind of looks like Howard Jones. If you know that reference, he was the lead singer for Killswitch Engage for a long time.
The black.
Looks
okay,
just like
yeah,
that
yeah.
guy.
Holy diver.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So
I
keep
didn't
going,
get
Glenn.
it. Sorry.
Sing the rest of Holy Diver for us.
No.
Yes. Oh man. All right. Are we ready for the next scene now?
Yes.
All right. We have Jamie, Bronn, Marcella, Tristane, Ario, Alaria, Snakes.
Them
Sorry that
snakes.
I just ruined all their names, but that's okay. I
You
don't
actually
care.
did a great job.
I do care a little bit. Did I? Okay, good. I like self-consciously go in
I'm just
to
gonna
the
tell you
mirror
did
and
a
I'm
great
like,
job,
God,
and
you're
I'll
an
let you
idiot.
question it now.
Thank you. Shit. Anyways, JB finds his own daughter, but is hindered by Oberyn's. Ario steps in but hindered by Oberyn's
Daughters.
yeah. And Ario steps in and shuts that shit down like Negan. Sorry. That's just how I read that note. I felt like there was a bat there and all sorts of stuff. Anyways, Glenn, start us off here.
Sure. So, if you remember, Bronn was annoyed with Tyrion when he was whistling when they were leaving the Vale, and now Jaime is annoyed when Bronn is singing in Dorne. Oh, how the turntables!
Oh, ho.
And then I got another note, and I don't know, like whenever Area Hota comes in and just kind of like shuts everything down, like there's like a meme that was going around, like when Obara says, "I am Obara Sand," and then Arya's like, "I don't give a shit." Yeah, that what he says, like, I don't give a shit or something like that. It's basically just saying, hey, I don't care at all what you guys are doing.
I know who you are. That doesn't matter right now.
Yeah.
Makes no difference. Luke.
So kind of right along with what Glenn opened up there, with Bronn singing. It was, to me, it's kind of like, hey, let's have Jerome Flynn sing again. It's been a few seasons. Like, he was a pop star. Like, we need to make sure we get his talents on there. Like,
Well, he's handsome. He's hilarious. Everybody
He
wants
probably
to see him.
signed a
Why
contract
not?
where he has to sing every now and then.
and this is the third song that we've got officially in the show now.
Yes.
So that's cool.
What are the other two?
We've got Reigns and Bear in the Maiden Fair.
Yep.
Should have probably let
That-
Abby answer that one. But
I would have
was
gotten it
kinda-
right, actually.
But it's also kind of cool. Again, kind of what Glenn was getting at. We see further disagreement kind of within the Dornish camp about the proper course of action. You know, the Sand Snakes are kind of going one route, and then we have Areo Hotah and men kind of coming in and being like, "Yeah, that's not the way this is gonna go down." Oh, look, Jaime's here too.
And there's Jamie.
And there's Jaime.
Jaime.
Time.
It's Jaime.
Benj.
So mine goes to the end of the scene. Where the hell's my note? When you were a whole, it would have been a good fight. I do love that. You know, Arya Hota holding that axe to Jaime's neck there. That he just like. I know we could have. Yeah, I would have won, but it would have been fun. But my other note, because nobody else has mentioned it, the fight between Jaime, Bronn, Alar or Tyene, the snakes, Nim and Obara. I'm not gonna shit on it. It just felt like it was in slow motion. Like literally, they shot it and they slowed it down by like 2 or 3, points
Hey-
on the.
Hey, Benj. I'm
Yeah.
getting people real mad here. Ready? Have you
Go
ever
ahead.
watched the U.S. World Cup?
Which sport?
I mean, just the World Cup, not the U.S.,
The
but
US
the World
Okay.
Cup.
If you
You-
see the
Sorry.
U.S.
At
version
times-
of the
It
World
coming
Cup.
there.
USA wasn't in the last World
Yeah.
Cup.
I'm aware. So
We
you've
had our
watched the
own.
World Cup. Have you ever
Yes.
watched Women's
NIT.
World Cup?
See, here's the, and I'm going to actually disagree with you on this.
It's
I
just one of those
enjoy
things.
Women's World Cup because they put more fucking effort into it. The men's feel like it's fucking just, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to
That
get
was
into
my.
that.
It was my joke. Have
Yeah,
you ever
fair
watched the
enough.
World Cup?
Yeah.
Then the Women's
Yes,
World
ma'am.
Cup. It's
Women's
slowed
is better.
down.
I put
The
it. Women's
US
is better.
World Cup.
Men's
It's
is bullshit.
just slower.
Yeah, but
As a-
yes, it felt like I guess to your point, I see where you're going with.
Yeah.
Yes, along those lines, it just everything was slowed down. It was very matter of fact. I'm going to do this move, then you're going to do this move, and it wasn't the women fighters. It was because even Jerome Flynn and Jamie, I can't remember his name right now.
Nikolai.
They
Lannister.
thank you. Yeah,
Jamie.
Nikolai, it felt like they were slowed down and weren't, feeling everything with it. And this whole scene just did not work for me. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not shitting on it. It's just, it felt so slow motion.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, and
The-
like for how much? Oh, Terrence, go for it.
No, I'm sorry. The only thing that I really liked out of that fight scene was the fact that Jamie got a few good shots in with his prosthetic. I think we can call it prosthetic arm. So I mean, if he were to really hit that, hit her with full force, or hit him with full force, that should have put him on the ground. Especially if it was it's supposedly made out of gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, no, you're right.
You're right.
Yeah.
But gold's actually not that strong of a metal. Just
Malleable.
it's malleable.
It is malleable.
Can I paint his
You know what? I'll
gold?
smack myself in the face with a thing of gold, and I'll get back to you.
It's still gonna hurt. That's the point.
It's gonna
I
hurt.
like
Yeah.
gold.
But I forget what I was gonna say. Never mind.
That's all right. Terrance, I'm gonna let you take this away here.
Yeah. So, Braun, all things Braun. I love Braun in this scene. I mean, all the way from his quick whips. I mean, from Braun being Braun to, him in battle. It's just all things Braun. I'm a Braun fanboy.
Me too. Only not a boy.
I remembered what I was gonna say.
Say it.
So
Say it.
we've
Say it.
been like hearing about these sand snakes and how awesome and like superstar fighters they are, and it just doesn't seem like you see that here really. I mean, Braun, we know he's good. He's not take on two people of equal quality as him good. Jamie, we know he's pretty much garbage right now, and yeah, maybe he's got a little confidence after catching the sword, the Dornishman on the horse last episode. But it should not be this close of a fight for these three to be taking on, like 1.5 men. I mean, Jamie's basically a half man right now, and it's just very slow. The choreography is pretty rough.
Yeah.
I think it is also, we didn't really touch on it in the last scene, but you can kind of see her here. Marcella is kind of hiding off to the side and kind of going along with her interesting conversation. If you notice, every time we've seen her before this, she's been in pink, pretty in pink, Lannister, and now she's wearing yellow and has assimilated to the Dornish culture a bit, at least in her head. And I just think that's worth kind of pointing out that the costuming kind of follows along with where her attitude is.
Different color.
Yeah. Now I will give credit to the scene because it does have a great line from Braun, as Terrance was saying. Trystane comes up and says, "I'm Trystane, Prince of Dorne." And Braun's like, "Don't do anything stupid." And Trystane tries to draw a sword, and Braun just knocks him out. He's like, "You did something stupid." Don't be dumb. That's rules of life to live by.
Don't be a goofus. Don't be a goofus.
I'm going to take that to heart.
No.
My only note on the scene, and it just kind of falls in what you guys are saying, like the slow choreography, what I was saying before. I'm just not vested. I feel like maybe we aren't given time to care about this place as much. Can you just let me know when Braun and Jamie make it back to the real world? Because then I'll care again. That's
We'll
bad.
let you know.
Thanks.
We'll wake you up.
When September
Before
ends.
you go. Oh, when September ends, we can keep going with this. Wake me. Yep. Anyways, are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Yep.
I think so.
So, once every episode this happens, we have a final scene.
Ding.
Clunk.
Ding, clink,
We have,
chunk.
no good clinks here for real. Let's try this.
No, I don't have any. I can clink my own bottle. Okay, final scene. Miranda gives the lady a bath. Reek escorts the bride to her wedding. And Ramsay, I guess I should have said we were in Winterfell. One more over. Sansa, Miranda, Reek, Roose, Ramsay. Miranda gives the lady a bath. Reek escorts the bride to her wedding. And Ramsay consummates the marriage with his prize. Anybody interested in going first here?
Sure.
Go for it, Glenn.
So, Miranda's basically trying to stir the pot here, obviously. And Sansa's just like, not in my digs.
Are these new digs?
These are my digs.
These are my digs.
You're not coming up into my digs
Oh.
and trying to tell
Okay.
me, what's what. Also, an outdoor wedding when winter is coming, did they think that was a good idea or what?
Who's the
to,
planner around here?
to your point, Glenn, ignoring all circumstances, everything surrounding this entire wedding, aesthetically, this wedding was beautiful, in my opinion.
Right, yeah. I guess it worked out as better than like rain or whatever. Like,
Yeah, you're
been to a
right.
couple of weddings where just the schedule for an outdoor wedding and the rain just ruined everything.
It rains for 1 hour that day, from 3 to 4, when we're all supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Better get a tent.
Anyways,
So I
also,
like how. Oh, go ahead.
really not important, but you really see how evil Ramsey could be here. It's definitely dialed up a little bit more, and like I just think he needs like an evil laugh.
Criminal process.
Ben, you go for it.
So Sansa grown some balls here, with just calling Miranda out of how long have you loved him? And Miranda's like just pausing because she thinks she's being all slick and sly with walking her to the tower
Sly.
and showing her yeah, slick and sly, exactly. And then she's like, well, until I came along and screwed it all up for you, right? You can get the fuck out now. I'll finish my own bath. It's like, goddamn right, Sansa. Take back your power because you're in a place where you might feel like you don't have it, but you can take back your power. And then we see what happens. And it's like, well, okay, maybe you lost that power again. But that fucking music that they play after the wedding in the chambers, like Ramsey is being so kind-ish, to her. He's like, I want to take care of you and I will protect you and this and that. Now take off your clothes. And then there's like a screech, like a horror film kind of record scratch, but it like builds and builds, and you can just feel everything in that room, just that tension and that coldness just hit. And it's like, even watching now, I've seen this one a few times, and it just sends chills up my spine. Just that sound, because fuck, she's fucked, and not meaning literally. She's out of her element. She's just done for on this. So it's one of those. It's a great scene for the absolute wrong reasons.
Agreed.
Yeah. Very, very good point there. And what kills me about this scene is that Sansa knows what's coming and that she can not stop it. Like she can't do anything. She can't talk herself out of it. She knows it's coming, and it just like she falls into this kind of blind acceptance of what's going to happen.
I think she's a boss. I think it's all of her choosing. Not that anybody chooses to be raped, but she will endure to get what's hers. She feels that it's worth it. She's amazing.
Now, I wanted to bring up, does anybody else kind of pity Theon at this point? And I'm only referring to him as Theon and not Reek, because in Winterfell, I feel it's the right thing to do. I know that might not
agree
that might
that
not
he
make
is
sense.
100% Theon.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Not 100%, but much, much more than we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Right, and I would pity the fool that thinks that he's Reek at this point. I pity the fool that thinks that that's
But yeah,
Reek
I
and not
mean,
Theon.
does anybody else like really pity him at this point?
I do, and I have for a long time. I think Theon turning on Robb was wrong, but I also believe that no Stark would have sought justice against him in this way, and that he has paid enough. I'm not saying he should be forgiven, but he should have just been executed and it been over. This should not have been something he endured. I don't think Ned or Robb would have considered this the justice they wanted. And I'm over it. I'm ready for him to be like, just let go.
And let me ask you, what do you think "let go" means? Do you think it's just like released from Ramsay's,
Honestly, I don't even
thing,
care.
or just
They
killed,
can
or
either way.
yeah?
I think justice would be just killing him. I don't think he necessarily deserves to live because of what he's done to the Starks. But he has paid such a price that if he lived, I wouldn't be like, that's still bullshit and angry at him. I feel like time has been served.
Fair enough.
Luke?
I'm Sansa Stark of Winterfell. This is my home. You can't frighten me. Big fan of goth Sansa here, dark Sansa.
Gotcha.
They go through and you see
Darth Sansa.
if you look closely in the bath scene, they kind of talk about it too. They're washing the darkness out of her hair to show that yes, this is Sansa Stark, so it's red again, and it just still feels like she is. We saw this last episode at the Bolton family Bolton values dinner table, where she's just kind of this total cold winter queen, and she leaves. At the first half of this portion of this scene, she leaves with the Theon. You think I care what he does to you? Like, because she has no reason to think that what she has heard about him isn't true, and she is as cold as it fucking gets right here. And I think that's pretty awesome for her. I don't really think that I'm a fan of the Miranda character very much. It feels very #Shay-esque of, hey, we have to have some kind of love interest for this character, even though it's fucked up and complicated. I think it just isn't really that needed, and I'm not going to touch on the rape portion of this yet.
Yeah. So I did have one note with that, Luke. You just made me think of because the coldness that she showed to Theon, of the I don't care what they do to you. After he begged her, please take my arm. He's gonna hurt me if you don't. I was kind of secretly hoping, even on this rewatch, I couldn't remember once they made it down to the Godswood, of her grabbing his arm just to, all right, I don't, to show that one sign of goodness left in her of as much. I still do, but this is going to your point. She doesn't give a fuck. I really don't care. So it's like, as a show watcher, as everything, you're like, okay, maybe there's still that glimmer of hope that there's something in there that's good and caring regardless. But no, it's gone.
She gone.
I don't know. I don't think it's gone forever. I just think it's gone to these people she's with now. In her circumstance.
Fair.
I really like the way she says home. When she says this is my home, just her actual accent on that word. And my last thought about the rape scene or whatever, bastard. Fucking bastard. So
Bastard.
I guess not my last thought.
Bastard
This
of
is the
fucking
one thing I've been
bastard.
spoiled on through all of Game of Thrones.
This is the one.
This is the one.
You know this is coming.
I knew that Sansa Stark was going to be raped because of a podcast that I listened to, and I was furious.
Completely unrelated podcast.
Completely unrelated podcast whatsoever. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of like when Sansa Stark got raped. I'm like, what the hell? I was on season 1, and like she was like 9. So I'm like, oh my god, what is wrong with these people? So yep. So from here on out, I know nothing further, I guess you should say.
All right,
But,
Jon Snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know nothing. That's me. You know nothing. Does anybody have any last comments, thoughts of this?
Not the
No.
moment.
Please
Nah.
no.
Okay.
It was
Not right
just
now.
it was one of those it was kind of the one of the most horrible moments in the series that this young girl gets her innocence stripped from her. It's just, I mean, I knew that it was coming because the first the first time I watched it, obviously, I watched it all the way through. But whenever I did this rewatch, I almost didn't want to watch it for sake. I mean, just I had to watch it because of the sake of the show here today.
Well,
But
but
like,
in fairness,
I
didn't you
almost,
pick this? I'm
I
kidding.
almost, I almost wanted to pause it and just leave it right there. Kind of like Old Yeller. He gets whenever Old Yeller is sick, and you just want to put the movie in the freezer or something like that.
He has to pull the
So
pull the trigger.
what happens?
Yeah, right. I've never seen that one either, guys.
Never, not
Thanks.
going to tell you.
Thanks.
No, never.
I will say the dog dies because all dogs end up
Going to heaven.
Going to
Yeah.
heaven.
All dogs go to heaven. That's right. Yeah.
I've heard
Or
that.
sheep go to
Iron
hell.
Company.
Or goats go to hell, sorry.
Homeward
Well.
Bound. What are the dog movies we got? Benji.
the
No,
dog
sheep-
is a
Sheep
Labrador.
go to heaven. Goats go to hell. I'm thinking of the cake song. That's right.
Goat Simulator? Two.
Simulator.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about the title accuracy, which was Unbowed, Unbent, Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken. Feelings, yay, nay.
We saw Dorn stuff.
Dornish.
Yeah.
Darn.
I'm biting my tongue on my joke, so
Yeah.
yep, they just move along.
Darn joy.
Description accuracy, Arya trains, Jorah and Tyrion run into slavers.
Sure.
Yeah,
And Marcella make plans, Jaime and Bronn reach their destination, and the sand snakes attack.
that's kind of all one knows. I mean, that's
It's
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't
kind
really
of all
like how
Dorn. Yeah.
they put Jorah and Tyrion run into slavers. It's just kind of like giving it away.
Right.
Yeah.
That could be.
More
It's kind of a
discreet.
big thing. I mean, for their storyline. Like, well, this doesn't look like it's going to be good.
It's like exactly what happened. Like,
They might as well just put Sansa gets raped as well.
or yeah,
Right.
Jorah and Tyrion run into a pickle.
Pickle.
Sansa has some uncomfortable pressure.
Oh, God, Benj.
Ow.
No. All right, let's go into our least favorite thing. Mine was Benji's last comment.
Trust me, I'm not trying to downplay.
Yeah, I know. I'm just teasing you. We'll start least favorite things. Let's start with you, Luke.
The wedding night. It's awful. It's more character assassination. The fact that it focuses on Theon when it happens, I think, is awful. It's bad things happen to woman becomes growth point for man. It's really overdone. It's really common. It's very lazy writing. It's not clever. It's really just the show writers adding shock value here for no other reason other than the sake of, hey, we want to have something that's going to be talked about like the Red Wedding, like Ned's head. And this is going to be one for good or worse. People are going to talk about this, and guess what? It did. I mean, this was a big thing, a big divisive thing in the fandom, in the community at the time, and I think completely reasonably. It's not a good look for the story. We don't need further Ramsay defamation for us to want him to viciously be killed. We don't need this to hate Ramsay more. We don't need this to take down Sansa's character more. She's already been on this, reversion to become this dark, power player, and this
She
just
doesn't-
completely undercuts all of that. And I just don't think it's fucking needed. And it's awful the way it's done. Yes, it's way worse in the books for what happens to a completely different character. That's not a spoiler for you, Abby. This is not Sansa in the books.
Okay.
And I'm not saying it's good that it still happens, but the fact this is probably the worst thing that the show consolidates, and I think it completely ruins everything Sansa's worked for. She's already been the victim. She's done that. She doesn't need to go through this for her character development. She's done that already. This is unnecessary and unwarranted, and I cannot support any decision that happened here.
I'm gonna have to completely agree with you, Luke. This woman's already been through so much. She's seen her father die. She's been forced into marriage. She's been tortured under a dictator. It's something that didn't need to happen to her, especially didn't need to happen on screen. And adding shock value for Theon to watch was just a horrible, tasteless move altogether. I mean, that was just, we know the bad is going to happen. We knew it was going to happen whenever she was forced to marry um, Ramsey. It was just, that was already implied. To have it on the screen just made it 10 times worse. And I don't see why they needed to do that.
You want to throw your other ones in there, Terrance?
Yeah, my least favorite thing, I mean, other than Ramsey, because he's horrible, is Jockin. I don't, I mean, I think I made that clear at the beginning of the show, but I don't particularly like the guy. I mean, he was a likable character early in whenever he was helping Arya, but just now it's like he's like Microfinger, he's peddling all these riddles and shit like that. And I don't see it going anywhere. I don't see what his character brings, what value his character brings to Arya's journey and the show. I mean,
don't
right
have your
now, in
answers.
this particular point. Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. I wonder too. I'm just gonna go with Dorn. I've already made it clear I don't like kind of what's going on there. Not don't like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't know if later on Dorn becomes this huge power player. For now, it seems like just this girl's there and they're trying to get her, and we're here, and hopefully they make it back, which I'm sure they will. Benj?
Snake fight. It was just so piss poorly done. It made every actor in the scene except for Arya Hota look bad. And like you said, Abby, the storyline itself of how they're what the end goal is even of it does not make sense. Again, different from what the source material is, and the source material is 1,000 times better considering this. So yeah.
Lastly, Glenn.
Sure, yeah. This episode kind of seems like they do like every episode. They kind of leave out stuff, and then puts other stuff in, and then you don't hear about other stuff until 2 episodes from now. But this, in particular, this episode, no wall stuff. Last episode, I think we saw was pretty much that Jon Snow Tormund thing. They're gonna go to Hardhome. Stannis was gonna go, leaving to go to Winterfell, and then lo and behold, if you're not binging these episodes, like if you were watching them live, you're like, oh man, like
Shit's about to
we're gonna figure out, John's gonna go here, we're gonna see this in this episode, and then no, you're not. You go fuck
Just
yourself.
kidding.
Yeah, it's one of the most frustrating part of this series is that, you're gonna go here because you haven't seen, the wall in 3 or 4 episodes. Well, no, you're not. You're gonna go to Dorne instead, or you're gonna go to King's Landing. It's like, fuck, I've been to King's Landing so much. I mean, I need a vacation. Let's go north of the
Right.
wall.
Want to go skiing?
Especially like
Snowshoeing.
if they have stuff like Dorne and stuff like that, no one really cares for or whatever, and that's just like the substitute for this other stuff that you wanted to see.
I really call that stuff like filler material,
Right.
All right, let's switch gears and go to our favorite things. We will
with me
start
on this one.
with Benji.
Sorry, because Luke made such a passionate thing about why this is his least favorite, and I absolutely agree with everything he said. So I want to put that out there. But my favorite thing of this episode was the wedding night, because as a show alone situation, it was perfectly done. If you're watching this, no book information, no nothing. Yes, was it an overdone and overkill? Absolutely. But the way they framed it, the way they shot it, the way every beat hit the right note that was meant to be, that they wanted to hit, it did hit. Looking back at it at 2020 hindsight, sure, everything Luke said and Terrance said, absolutely right, horrible. But it was very, very well done. And I gotta give it credit for that. It left that shock like, oh, fuck, kind of
So
mentality, which is what kind of stuff that I like. So,
I might also be a first time for this. Get your fact checkers out. But I agree with you. And I feel like maybe after I read the book, I'll look at myself and be like, "Oh, you were such a naive little TV watcher or whatever."
Sweet summer
But
child.
yes, right? And I thought I had gone on to an autumn something is whatever you called me. I don't remember. Some nice, lovely name. It
I
was
don't know.
funny. But yeah, it was great. But I picked for my favorite thing was the realization of how badass Sansa is. I've already been getting there. We are far from her, to me, not a girly girl, annoying big sister who was perfect and liked all the girly things and did them all wonderfully, to realizing her true value and talent in her own toughness in her own way. Um, but I liked, for me, I felt like this is where I see absolutely her refusal to be manipulated, to be a bystander any longer in her own life, even with the knowledge that she will have to endure a horrific reality for her immediate future. She's as tough as any Stark, and I kind of feel naive, a sweet summer child, that it took this terrible scene where I'm not getting the book's point of view, but I did think, not that the like Benji said, not that it's a great scene or it's great that it happened, but it definitely did drive home like some points in my limited view, I should
yeah.
say.
And one note I had written here too, really quick to go back, but in the same scene, it basically built the fear for Sansa. What is she going to be facing now? We just saw this. What else is she going to have to deal with? The hatred for Ramsay, because yeah, it just builds upon that, and the pity for Reek, as Terrence said earlier. You know, all three of those makes you want to continue on with the story. As much as you might hate of what just happened, it makes you want to keep watching, and that's what makes it
Unnecessary.
good.
Completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
I s-
Sure.
I already hated.
Right. We didn't need more.
I
But you didn't. You pitied Reek, Abby, but
yeah, I always
we
have.
didn't. You know, I mean,
I
for
yeah.
points, this one reminds you of his, the reason to be pitied.
Yeah.
I mean, time heals all things, right? Give it another watch a year later, or 2 years later, or 3 years later, and see how you feel about Reek at that point. I mean, that's how. First, whenever I was first watching, I was like, "Oh no, screw Theon, screw Reek." I do hope he dies, but I I realized and I appreciated the situation that he was in initially,
Mhm.
that put him in the situation that he's in now.
He
And it's
was
like he.
ultimately a prisoner of somebody else. He wasn't doing this to get
Mm-hmm.
John killed. He was doing it to go back and be part of his family. And I
Yeah.
also think it's very telling of who you are as a person, of, of how you treat your captors. And I'm not talking about the Starks. Well, I am, because they treated him wonderfully. But
Yes.
Reek, how he was treated, speaks volumes. Like, that is the person. You can't treat your prisoners, your captors, your l- subordinates like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not right. I'm
Yeah.
over the Reek thing.
Yeah. So, all right.
All right. Who do we get? Oh, Luke.
My favorite thing in this episode was Tyrion and Jorah kind of talked about their fathers and somewhat getting on a common ground together. I thought it was incredibly well acted between both Ian Glenn and Peter Dinklage, and they got some information that both kind of needed to be like, hey, we're not that different, really. And I just thought it was a really, really well done scene between those two.
Yep.
Yep, sorry. My computer is so frozen right now. It's okay though. I just like Jorah and Tyrion, so I'm cool with them being in any scenes. If you could throw a Bronn in there too, I think that'd be great.
Oh, that'd be heaven, right?
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Glenn.
Sure. I just kind of am intrigued by Arya's storyline. And I realized like Jockin's just kind of boring. Like at this point, like, but at the same time, like, we really don't know a whole lot about what's going on, and she doesn't even know a whole lot, and she's kind of learning, and it's kind of usually when you get a job, they kind of give you all the the stuff. This is what we're doing. This is your day at a glance or whatever, and like this is your duties, responsibilities, all this stuff, and like she's just kind of learning as she goes, and just kind of getting thrown out in the fire, and then kind of getting chastised almost whenever she's not doing things the right way or whatever. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of intriguing.
She's a store clerk on day one.
Yeah, day one store clerk.
With no outline.
And she showed some
No
initiative.
Yeah, she's
Initiative,
great.
another responsibility.
Right.
I'm just frustrated by the scenes. Not that I dislike them, only because I don't know. And I want to know. And I think she wants to know. And I think it's well done that I feel her
in a way.
frustration.
You're frustrated because
Yeah.
she's frustrated.
Yeah,
Because it
and she
seems like
doesn't-
nothing is fucking happening, right? I mean,
No, and she can't do anything right. And I don't know what I could tell her to do better because she doesn't. I don't know. I feel that like angst or
just be
whatever.
no one better.
Yes, right. Just stop.
You gotta
Yeah,
be
I
no
don't know.
one better.
Maybe she
Just be
needs to
no one
scratch
better
off
than
her face.
yourself.
Right.
We're gonna dock today's pay because you didn't do that, but learn from this experience.
Yeah, jerks. That middle management, they're the worst. So, lastly, our guest, Terrance, what was your favorite thing?
Just Braun. Come on, everything Braun. Like I said, I'm a Braun fanboy. I'm a Braun boy.
A Bronman?
Brown.
A Braun boy.
Brownman.
What can Braun do for
Brownman.
you?
Ronnie.
What can
Brahman
Braun do for you?
Crouppen.
I love it.
Sorry,
What
that's a
can
sick
Braun
one.
do for you? I'm gonna put that on a UPS shirt.
There you go.
Awesome. Yeah, just everything Braun. Like, I mean, for example, whenever he said, "So once we've got the princess, then what?" Jamie Lannister's like, "Well, I like to improvise," and Braun's like, "Well, that explains the hand."
He has the best one-liners.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just, I mean, what gets me about Braun is just his loyalty. You know, he's okay. So he's loyal for all the wrong reasons, like money and power, right? But he's just like, it's to a darn fault that he's just so loyal, especially with Tyrion back in the day. You know, him and Tyrion had some good things happening, and then Braun got his lordship. He got his not necessarily lordship, but you know, he got his castle. He got his wives or whatever it was that he had made the deal beforehand. And he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna retire early and just live life. And then here comes Jamie Lannister and be like, hey, you know what? I need you. And Braun's like, damn it.
Damn.
But I mean, it's just Braun's loyalty to whoever he's serving at the time. It doesn't matter. I mean, I dare say that he would be the same kind of loyal to the Starks if he was serving them. I mean, it's just
I feel like Braun is a
fault.
guy, his word means something.
yes,
that's-
absolutely.
So,
Braun is a guy whose wallet means something.
Hmm.
all right, gentlemen, are we ready to roll this out here? Yep. All right, let's do it. So we have other podcasts. One is the vodcast that rolls, plays, and games. Check us out on twitch.tv/rolls, plays, and games, and on Twitter at rolls, plays, games. You can watch Glenn and Luke often on there. It's interesting. There's a cool game. I don't know what it's called, and they play like cowboys and they tame horses.
I
Awesome.
may be
They play-
starting that.
Sure.
I may be starting that
Woo!
tomorrow. Just say, putting it out
Oh,
there.
hey, there you go.
Well, maybe tomorrow this week sometime.
You can learn more at thepodcastthat.com. Now it is time for the first time watcher on the wall predictions.
Yeah,
So
that's you.
that's me. I actually wrote predictions, totally prepared. Ready? Jorah and Tyrion make it to Dany, and she sees Tyrion's value and allows him to stay around, but he has to prove his worth. Jorah, however, is again sent away, but she doesn't have him killed because she's like that classic lady. It's fine kind of mad, not off with his head angry. So I don't think he's staying. She doesn't want him killed, so she's just going to send him away. Next. My initial reaction to the title accuracy of this episode, Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken, was how could it possibly be accurate? Look at Sansa and what she's been through. And this has been like an awful existence for her over the last few years. I feel like this right here is very much all those things, bowed, bent, and broken. Also, and Ramsay's only going to make sure that these things get worse. Theon, without question. Theon, I was going on to without. Theon has without question bowed, bent, and broke. So my prediction is that I get that, what is this, pertaining to Dorne? They're the unbowed, unbent, unbroken people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I get that we went there, sure. But I feel like, how can you have such a huge scene like this and it not be like mentioned in the title? I guess it's happened before. But my real prediction from this is that Sansa, with Theon's assistance, take back the North. They defeat the Boltons, and they will be successful in that, I don't know, attempt. They, that's what I think. Theon will be on Sansa's side, and I think that one way or another, Sansa will have a hand. Not just, oh, somebody comes in and takes back the North. I think she will have an active part in doing that. Another Sansa prediction. How long can Microfinger play his little games? Not forever is my answer. And he will not die of old age. He will die at the hands of Sansa. My last prediction is Jaime and Bronn make it back to Westeros somehow, because Dorne is whack and there is no life without Bronn. So that was it.
Life after Bronn.
There's done.
Dorne is beat, yo.
Yep.
So many play on words, like Brawn Flakes. You know? Like, what can Braun do for you? I love it.
That's perfect. All right, so we'll run. Are we running through it all, guys?
Run through it all.
All right, I will start. No, that's the bonus episode. Get away from there. I will start. My name is Abby, aka Gertie of House Condescension. My words are: we don't quit. My sigil is a field of white with a raven sitting upon a black appointed chevron. My horse's name is Gunther. Yeah?
Sword.
Sure. Sword's name is Gunther. I live north of the wall. I pray to the old gods. My horse's name is Odin. JJ the honey badger is my little furry friend. JJ for Judge Judy. She don't give a shit. We hail from Gertie's gallows. We subscribe to the Nightly Raven. My famous ancestor is Casey Jones. We don't have a famous dunce because we don't fuck around.
No
we kick
dunces.
ass. No dunces here. You can find me on Twitter at GoHomeGertie. And I have is that a final thought or something? No?
Yep,
I don't have any final thoughts. It was a good episode. So, Terrance, take it away.
Yes, I'm Terrance Pinkston. My house words are: when life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. My house sigil and coat of arms is a field of black with a snake wrapped around a microphone and one red dot below. My house sword is the sword of Gryffindor. My house region is east of the north. Don't mistake that for the northeast. My house religion is the gods of tits and wine. My horse's name is a horse has no name.
Oh my god.
I don't have an ancestral home. Our hometown newspaper is. I'm sorry. I do have a home. I don't have a horse animal. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't have a house animal. My ancestral home is Hogwarts. My hometown newspaper are the Little Birds. My famous house ancestor is Herpo the Foul. Our house fool is Al Bundy. My personal Twitter is at Terranceus, Terranceus. My final thought is you stay classy, Westeros.
Glen Dog.
Yeah, so house words are you miss 99% of the shots you don't take. House Sidge is Spuds McKenzie dog with a Wayne Gretzky jersey on. House Sword is Johnny Utah. House Region is The Vale. House Religion, Them New Gods. Horse name is Horsemeat or Horus, as we found out from
Horus, yeah. Red Dead 2.
Red Dead 2. Ancestral or Animal is Rich the Flying Squirrel. Ancestral Home, The Castle at Beast Mountain. We subscribe to The Moon Door Bee. Famous house ancestor is The Duff. House Minstrel or Fool, Barube the Barf. Personal Twitter at Popsicle Stan. Final thought. Good episode. I liked it. Not my favorite, but it was it'll do, pig.
Veggie.
So I am Sly of House McLean. House words are as dangerous to drink alone. My house sigil is 3 gold triangles in a field of red and black. My house sword is Konami because they make blades of steel. We're from the Reach. We pray to the gods of tits and wine. We ride Peach all night long. I got Ares the Phoenix. Our ancestral home is the Tower of Hera. Watch out for Moldorn. We read the Daily Sun. My famous ancestor is my great uncle John, the savior of winter celebrations. And our minstrel is Nickeldum, the singing mime. You can find me at Sly McLean on Twitter. And my final thought is, of all the episodes, this is easily one of the worst. So,
Oh, hey, we'll go up from here. And last but not least, my favorite big little brother, Luke.
I am Lucan of House Blackmead. House words, ours is the drink. Our house sigil is an obsidian black chalice on a gold and blue checky background. We have our house axe called Sweet Sting, a Valyrian steel axe. We originally hailed from the Riverlands, recently moved to the Stormlands. We pray to the old gods. I ride a horse named Cherry. I've got Paris the Parrot on my shoulder. We hail from Black Cask Keep. We read the Drowned Word. Our famous house ancestor is Ashmere Rivers. You'll learn more about him later. Our house minstrel, his name is Dingle, and my personal Twitter is at Luca Ferocious. Final thought is, this is the worst episode of all.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Not
Man.
even close.
You guys don't even.
Okay.
yeah.
You guys are making me feel real awesome right now.
The worst episode of all time.
In my
Every-
opinion, this is easily the worst episode.
It's like comic book guy. Worst episode ever.
Yeah.
All right. To close off the worst episode ever, remember to become a. Oh, no. Here we go. We're going to start that over. Edit that out, Abs. Ready? Here we go. Become a patron to get access to our epilogue episodes and access to our Team Slack channel. Learn more at patreon.com/stayimaginary. For all the ways that you can help us keep our beer bank full, check out the podcastthat.com/support us. We want to give a big thanks to our special guest, Terrance. Thanks, Terrance.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a
well-
real pleasure being on.
We enjoyed you immensely. Barring any scheduling mishaps, join us next week as we are joined by
Dog, the one and only Dog fucking Sidious.
And
Love
Dog Regular Sidious will be here
Dog
too.
Sidious.
it. Just the normal. Yep. Okay. Please follow us on Twitter at Know and Drink. Send us a digital raven at knowandrink@gmail.com. Subscribe, like, rate, and leave comments on iTunes and YouTube. And until next time, as always, I still don't know, so I'll just drink.
As always, you might end up in a body bag. I mean, don't turn your back on the wolf pack.
As always, Ramsey is coming, and so am I. I mean, Winter.
Oh God.
Can I mute him?
Yes.
Can I just
Yes.
end the call?
Just kick him out.
Hey, I want to change it. Go ahead.
And as always, again on I am show what?
And as always, stay imaginary.
How do you know this?
That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
Is this really the worst episode ever?
The worst episode ever, apparently.
Ever. Oh,
Yeah.
well,
I
I mean,
think it was that. It's not a good episode. I'll give you that.
Watching it now, like
The
trying
worst
to
episode.
divert it from book to show. Still, yeah, it's not good.
See, that's the problem with like now in this far in the show is they're gonna all this consolidation and stuff. It just really doesn't do the book justice.
Yeah.
I
See,
think.
and like, well, and but that's the thing. Like, I'm trying to watch through as just show. Well, I mean, I take the book stuff, but this, it's like it's just so badly done. Just the Dorn shit alone. But
Regardless
I'll
of
leave
book
it.
information, this is a pretty rough episode.
Yeah.
Certain parts are pretty
Yeah.
rough.
Fair enough.
I like if this is the worst it's gonna get. I mean, hey, we'll be all right.
All
Felt
right.
like a very
so,
dry episode.
are we doing epilogue? Terrance, are you
I'm good
good
with-
to do an epilogue episode with us?
Sure. I
I'm
am
out.
happy to do that with you.
All right, we're kicking Abby out, and we're gonna have a short. We're not gonna go too long today. Epilogue, spoiler-filled episode as well. So
Yep.
stay with us.
And chat, if you can hear us talking over, just put up like a wave sign. Like Felicia, I'm gonna ask you put up like 4 waves so we know that the sound's coming through.
You mean on the standby?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. Anyway,
Yes, Sam. Happened last time.
no, it didn't. Not on the video.
Well, we'll find out if she does the 4-wave thing.
Well, don't talk about him then.
He's gonna
Jeez,
say-
asshole.
Jeez.
All right. Well, we are gonna take a short break, and we will be back shortly.
Bye, everybody.
After the short break.
Goodbye,
Bye,
Abby.
Abby.
Nice job hosting.
Thanks.
Now leave. Goodbye.
How do you know this?
That's what I do. I drink, and I know things.
All right, we are back. We kicked out Abby, and this is the podcast that drinks and knows things, and I am filling it for the host duties for this epilogue episode for Season 5, Episode 6, Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken. As always, joined by Glenn of House Dog.
Yo.
Ben, Sly of House McLean.
Uh-huh.
And not as always, but special tonight, we have our guest, Terrance Pinkston of Hogwarts Radio fame. Welcome back.
What's an epilogue?
Epilogue is is a log that comes after the normal log.
Gotcha. Okay.
Epic.
So,
Log.
for these epilogue episodes, these are spoiler-filled, and we've kicked out our first-time watcher. And we've been focusing a little bit on book-to-show differences. Terrance, I don't know how much you've read of the books themselves.
Haven't gotten that far. I'm still about 3/4 of the way through A Clash of Kings.
Okay.
So, but as always, I'm up to talking about spoilers so far in this series.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, everything book, everything show related through season 7. If you have season 8 spoilers, I guess those are welcome, but they're probably unreliable.
Yeah.
And we will get started on this episode by jumping back to Bravos. Right? That's where we started this whole thing off. And I don't know. What do you guys think?
So my only issue is the Game of Faces thing. Book-wise, it was never if you lied, you got hit. It was a fun thing. It was hey, I'm lying to you. Well, how am I? And there was a game between the Waif and Arya that they would play during their chores or whatever, and she would explain why she's lying or how she's lying to her or a bit to let her know. In this, the Waif is just a bitch. She doesn't want the new blood there. It seems like she's being overly hard on her for unknown reasons
She's
that we never
gunning
actually
for a
get.
job.
Yeah, like she feels threatened.
Yeah. So I mean that's kind of my takeaway with this whole part of it is the Waif's over aggression.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a bit different. They kind of just needed a protagonist for Arya, and they played that up because, yeah, this would all be pretty boring if it in the show writer's mind. I mean, it's already kind of on the verge for a lot of people. Like, wow, nothing is happening, and compared to Arya's typical storylines, that doesn't really sell to that kind of typical storyline that she would have, and they need to have something. I'm not saying it was done well, but they felt that they needed to add something for her to be that's actively working against her other than just inexperience with what she's doing.
Yeah, to me, it kind of seems like this whole journey she's going through in Bravos is I mean, what's the point of it? Is she's already been through horrible things. She's already seen things no normal, child, because she is still a child at this point, has seen. It's just like I don't get her whole journey in Bravos. What this is trying to do? What, break her down just to build her back up in this kind of numb persona? I just I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it.
Yeah, I feel like there is a lot more going on with the House of Black and White in the books, and yeah, from where you're saying you've read through it, it hasn't really been there yet, and there's a lot more context of it's not Jock and Hagar that's there. It's not there are a bunch of people in and out. There's a lot more going on than just, hey, there are 3 people in this huge fucking building that apparently run this entire place.
They're on the show.
And nice job, Bench. Anyway, but yeah, there's a lot more going on to it, and what they're really trying to do, I think, is, I mean, they keep telling her, you don't belong here. because you are Arya Stark. You have other places to go. You can go anywhere you want. If you want to go be some rich lord's wife, we can set that up for you. If you want to go be a sellsword, we can set that up for you. But she actively keeps choosing to stay there against their recommendation because they know that she is going to have a hard time actually doing what the rest of them do, because most of them are probably escaped slaves, or hey, we grew up here and basically are sacrificing everything, which in most people's cases there, I think, didn't have much to start from, where she has a ton to start from and huge, cultural history in her character that she's not gonna be able to let go like everyone else that goes through this kind of can. And so it is challenging for her, and so they have to really kind of break her, in for lack of a better term, and it doesn't really work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. As far as this whole storyline, like, I think this is one of those where they eventually ran out of book material on, and I think pretty much what we see like now is like kind of going off script and kind of just wherever Dan and Dave want to take the story almost. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? Like, just as far as the storyline being
story-wise, it streamlines a few things. Okay, again, it's game of consolidation. But and yeah, I guess Lukia make a great point. She needs a protagonist in this whole endeavor, because book-wise, Arya doesn't have or antagonist. I'm sorry, doesn't have an antagonist. Because in book-wise, Arya is her own antagonist. She keeps making these mistakes and whatever and causing these issues. So show-wise, they had to take the wave and turn into that.
I'm saying like,
But I'm sorry, Glenn, if I went somewhere else with it.
No, like show wise, like she's already like done with this whole storyline, and she's already moved back over to Westeros.
Gotcha. I kind of blanked on what you were getting at. Sorry.
Say your question one more time.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, like, they ran out of book material, and now obviously she's back at Westeros. Like, do you guys like agree with what she's doing now, or would you say like
for where the show takes it?
Right.
Where the show takes it. I'm okay with it. I mean, it makes her super Arya, the plot armor thicker than the wall, Arya, but it's okay for now. I'm interested in seeing season 8. Does she soften back again? Because I do like kind Arya. Right now she's as cold, dead eyes as Bran is, which I don't like. She's just in a different mentality.
Maybe if she sees like Jon or someone when Jon comes back to Winterfell, and
when the full group is back together, I think it's going to be impossible for her to not revert back to a little bit of that and still have the. I think Bran will do the same thing. I mean, he's kind of traumatized for what he's gone through as well. I really feel like Arya's storyline here in Bravo suffers because they didn't just cut her out of season 5 like they did Bran. I think it'd have been a lot better. I think we talked about this last week. Like, it should have just been, hey, you just aren't in this season. We'll have your training montage in season 6 and get right to the fucking point there, as opposed to dawdling all this fucking time. It just feels slow.
Yeah. Or if anything, do it kind of like the books did. Hey, you get 2 chapters this book, you get 2 chapters next book. So you get 2 scenes for the whole season. Hey, I showed up. Here's what I'm doing. In episode 1, I'm doing this. I'm, take all of episode 1, not all of, but take a good chunk of episode 1. I'm doing this. I'm learning this. And then episode 6, hey, we're doing this step, this step, this step, not this piecemeal of she's getting her ass kicked all the time, or.
And then all of a sudden she's this uber assassin.
Exactly. It's, you cut it, but it's a flash forward, but it's not. So you're still getting pieces, kind of like the Bran thing. It's just a straight flash forward flashback of you spent a whole season in our eyes of you're getting all this information, but now you're just learning this compared to, hey, Bran showed up here.
Mhm.
He's getting this information. Give it 4 episodes, 5 episodes, another little bit of information, and there you go. But that's the difference. Book-wise, it actually did that. Arya's the only character with chapters in all 5 books at this point. She's the only character with chapters in all 5 books. So give her chapters, but don't give her whole story away. Don't overload her. Spread it out. That's the way George wrote it.
Does anyone else feel like she's kind of like that filler character? Like she's just there for the sake of like an in between in a story. Because I mean, let's be honest, if we were to take her journey out now, it's just, I mean, she's like you said, Luke, she's like this uber assassin. I doubt that she's really doing anything of real significance that's going to affect the overall outcome of what's happening, what's going to happen to Westeros. I mean, it's just, to me, it just seems like her character's there for sake of having that kind of a character there.
Yeah, and I think like it seems like she's a bigger actress that maybe she probably had a contract where she has to be on the show or something like that. So it just seemed like we're gonna throw her in, like maybe Bran and Hodor might have had like some different contract or something where they can set them aside for now, or they just.
And I mean, it's been known Arya's easily one of the top 3 favorite characters of the entire series.
Right. That's the reason they're doing this.
The pressure of
we
can't just leave.
They don't want to hold off, the favorites.
And they should.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you on that one, Luke.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Bravos? We'll see some more. We got plenty more coming up.
No.
All right, so then we are gonna move down to Valyria. We have Jorah and Tyrion, and the Slavers. So obviously, there's some pretty major differences with Jorah filling in for John Connington and kind of cutting a few different storylines with Penny and the pig and Jorah there as well. Basically all of the interaction that you have with Vagon, John Connington, Septa Lemore, Half-Maester, all of those characters just don't exist. Duck, yep, Raleigh Duckfield. It's just, we have these 2 characters. They're 2 characters and great actors. It works. I think it works. It's a huge consolidation where you're clearly making this choice. Hey, we're cutting out like probably 65 characters by just throwing these 2 together and like, hey, let's just get them to Marine as quick as possible, because I know the biggest complaint that I've kind of been getting at is like Daenerys needs some help. Like, she just needs some guidance, and this is just on fucking casters. This is on a fucking roller coaster. We need to get Tyrion to her as fast as possible, and since we killed Barristan, we need Jorah there as fast as possible as well.
And Tyrion.
That was the first one that I said.
And Jorah.
No, you said since they killed Barristan, they need Jorah, and I was saying since they killed Barristan, she needs Tyrion back too.
I said Tyrion before I even was talking about any of those. Yeah,
but they also need Tyrion.
But Tyrion also needs to be there.
Luke did not say Tyrion.
My only complaint.
I'm adding Tyrion to what Luke said.
You guys are drunk.
Luke forgot.
I'm also reading the chat. That's my problem. I'm trying to read the chat talk. But my only issue with this whole thing is I did kind of want the Penny storyline, especially the Penny, hey, my brother got killed because they thought he was you, that animosity, and then that kind of twist to turn to find somebody who would actually care about Tyrion, almost lovingly, probably lovingly, for the wrong reasons. In the show, yeah, I mean, it could have really worked. I get why they cut it down and cut it out. Absolutely makes sense, but it's one of those of I wanted that because it takes Penny, yeah, because it takes Tyrion, but also where they're going with the show, they never grade out Tyrion. so they didn't need to bring him back to the white side.
Mhm.
So I guess it's one of those of, because
They've already
book-wise,
brought
he
him
goes
back.
he goes pure gray to dark gray, really fast with the whole Volantis scene and the whores and all that and the drunkenness, and then Penny brings him out of that, but he never went into that deep delve of self-hatred that she brought him out of. So I mean, I get both sides of it. I like the Penny side of it because it's one of those sweet things where he remembers his humanity. So even though the show didn't need it, I wouldn't have minded it. Bueller.
All right. Any other thoughts on these two getting to Marine?
Not really, like we said, like it's a consolidation. You said there's like 65 other characters they could added, but obviously budgeting and stuff like that, just you got to trim some fat somewhere. I guess this is one of the spots. Leave some characters out, just for the sense of saving money, I guess.
Yeah, and again, like this, I kind of completely agree with how they've done this one. It works, I think. All right,
it does work.
And it does work, as Glenn can confirm. So then we're gonna go down to King's Landing, where we have Lancel, Microfinger, Cersei, Olenna, Marjorie, Cersei, Loras, High Sparrow, Cersei,
Lord Turtle.
Lord Turtle, King Duckling. Yeah, so what do you guys think of some of the choices that are made here?
I'll let somebody else start on this one. Glenn, got something?
Not getting a lawyer. Terrible idea for the whole interrogation thing, and it's just a bad idea. Like in the books, they get a lawyer. I'm pretty sure. I think that was a big part in the books.
That was like 3 chapters
that they missed on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really just going to echo what I said in the episode, was that it really bothered me that Tommen didn't have the balls. And I don't know what kind of a book character he is because I haven't gotten that far yet. But like, it really bothers me that he didn't have the balls to stand up for his wife. I'm just flabbergasted by that. His predecessors wouldn't have stood for it. And I mean, certainly for this Inquisition by the High Sparrow. I mean, like Robert would have already killed him. I'm sure Joffrey would have had him, his head on a spike, as I said before. I really don't. I don't like it. It makes me feel uneasy, this whole thing. And then he says, "Oh, we have enough information for a trial now." And then it just, I don't know. Yes,
Nobody expects the High Sparrow Inquisition.
Yeah, I think he just had the Shires as like an absence of a reaction, like one way or the other. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess this is what's happening. Like, even though he's the king, he can do something about it. He just like kind of delegate, just kind of says like, oh, other people have this going on, so I'm just gonna let it play out. And all he can do is just kind of look on.
Yeah, I mean, and as Phil says in the chat, Tommen is only a small child in the books, and they aged him up in the show, and you guys mentioned that earlier as well. But isn't it in the general nature of a child to be inquisitive, to ask why, to kind of throw a tantrum whenever something doesn't go their way? I'm trying to wrap my head around why he didn't say anything.
So,
and yeah.
Sorry. So book-wise, Marjorie was taken without really Tommen's knowledge. I mean, she was taken and held for questioning and all that, on that, and Tommen really didn't go and confront anybody. There was no in-person, hey, this is what's going on, because the storyline why Marjorie is in chains or being questioned or being held is completely different than what show is.
Mm-hmm.
Show has nothing to do with Loras buggery. Has nothing to do with Loras and Renly. Because book doesn't ever cover Loras and Renly. This is all Loras and Renly is a whole show thing entirely.
Well, yeah, I mean it's pretty implicit in the books, but it's not
Yes.
as blatant as it's done in the shows.
Yeah,
Yep.
but it's exactly. So but Loras is never charged, never anything. It's Marjorie and her cousins who are charged with unknown sources, lewd behavior, unbecoming of a queen and the court, and all this. So that's where this kind of gets weird.
And
Because
all of that
Tommen
was actually set up by Cersei.
Yes,
With Osmond
and
Kettleblack.
thank you. That's where I was going to go with the Kettleblacks and Osmond Kettleblack, because Osmond wanted to get with Cersei again, but Cersei's like, you need to do this for me and lie about the queen, and so it sets up a whole domino effect of shit that's going to go down. But in this scene, I mean, going again show wise, it's not a bad scene. It kind of covers everything that the book wanted you to see, but in a different turnabout, plus making you worried about 2 characters instead of 3. Tommen in it, yeah, he doesn't know what the fuck to do. He just dumb, he hasn't been trained in any of this, and so he's like, well, I can't piss off the church because the church is the church. So we'll figure it out. My wife will be safe and all that. And I'm not saying he's right, but he just doesn't. He's trying to play both sides, or he's trying to,
Appease
not
both
piss anybody
sides.
off. Yeah, he's trying to appease both sides, but at the same time, he doesn't know how to go with it.
He was taught to be timid. I mean, that's what he was taught to be, and he grew up completely differently than what Joffrey grew up, and he grew up behind Joffrey, which is a terrible way to grow up, and. So he really is kind of just was not given the tools that it's going to take to actually rule, especially when you have such fucking conniving things going on around him that he cannot do a damn thing about. As we've seen with Marjorie the entire season, she's had her claws on him. Cersei's got, her claws on him. Even Tywin, this is what Cersei was, shouting at him a couple episodes before he got killed, was like, hey, I'm the only one that needs claws in him. No, he's got no chance. And it just sucks that they aged him up, and I think it looks a lot worse than if it was a younger actor.
I think they aged
it.
him up so that they could have that sex scene.
Well, absolutely.
Make it seem a little bit okay, I guess. I don't, probably not, but he's still like a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't do that when he's like a 9-year-old kid, I think.
Right. Well, I mean, even in the books, that's an issue. They're like, he's too young to consummate the marriage anyway, and they make a big point. Cersei does about, hey, they're not going to sleep in the same bed. And Jaime talks to her, and they're like, well, the first night they kind of have to, but there'll be other people there just so they can share the bed. But after that,
we'll be there.
The grandparents
and
from
that's
Willy
where
Wonka will be there.
They're all feet, across underneath the covers.
They're all gonna share the same bed.
Yeah.
Bilious Wonka, get the name right.
There you go, Bilious Wonka. There's a reference back to Hogwarts Radio Topics.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So now here, one other note I own this: Olenna coming back into King's Landing.
Yeah,
for all this.
A good choice because she's a great character to have there. Doesn't hurt anything her being there. I think.
No, it really doesn't, because and also having the actress herself, who's just phenomenal.
Diana Riggs.
Diana Riggs. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
The Riggs.
The Riggs.
The Riggs.
The Riggs.
The Riggs. But bringing her back in is a smart move because it adds another element to a lacking storyline. Because again, book-wise, all of this that we get book-wise is from Cersei's perspective. That's all we get. So we need other people to help us realize Cersei's fucking insane.
And Mace Tyrell's already been sent off, and Randall Tarley, we don't really see him coming in.
And Kevin McAllister just fucked right off. Yep. So, hey, there's our Home Alone. I knew I'd get it.
There it is. We made it. I was getting worried.
All right. But yeah, that's all I had for that.
All right, so yep, they have this little Inquisition, and then we have Dorn.
Darn.
A lot of big changes in Dorn.
Mhm.
You know, we don't have any real talk of Ariane Martell, who is the real
Non-existent.
ringleader instead
Yeah.
of Ilaria, who's kind of
Mhm.
she's kind of a bystander. She gets arrested, but we don't have anything of trying to really crown Marcella, which they could have been trying to do, but they don't talk about it. They don't set it up. I feel like the actions kind of tell the story that maybe that's what they were trying to do, capture her, and it just happened to be at the same time that that Braun and Jamie were there doing the exact same thing. I don't know. It was clunky. It's very abbreviated.
Kind of seems forced.
It seems a little forced. It's pretty. I don't know. Apparently, a lot of the scenes that they had to do shooting in Spain, they had really tough time constraints for filming, and I think that's a big reason why they just kind of got to a point where they were kind of like, okay, that's good enough. Like,
this is a bad idea, I guess.
yeah, so even if you watch like the Blu-ray, like making of the episodes type stuff, you can tell all of the stuff done in Spain was very rushed and it very difficult working conditions. And unfortunately, I think a lot of that showed up in the scenes in Dorn, and it's kind of rough because the best scenes I think in Dorn are with Doran and Ariahota, where they're just standing there, like, or
Yeah,
like
sitting
talking,
there,
sitting, standing, talking with
sitting, waiting, wishing.
staff axe or whatever you call it.
Yeah, halberd.
Well, no, I will disagree. Not disagree. Those are the best scenes in Dorn. The second best scenes are the Jamie and Bronn scenes when they're just walking and talking. Those are great. They're just funny quips,
Yes.
and again, we get Jerome Flynn singing. It's awesome. But beyond that, yeah, there's no redeeming quality to the entire area.
Right, and that's not a storyline. Jamie and Braun going down there.
Yeah, no, I mean, the storyline makes sense.
Yeah.
The storyline, for the show, it makes sense. Jamie's going to go down, rescue Marcella, or not rescue, but bring her back. Because she's not really in danger, quote unquote, that they know of.
Well, they
no,
think
I guess
there was the threat.
there was the. I'm sorry, you're
Yeah,
right. There
no,
was
He
the
is going
threat.
to rescue her.
The Snakeman.
Yeah, okay. Doran doesn't know about the threat so Jamie's going down to rescue her, to bring her back home and all that. Storyline makes sense. The Sand Snakes storyline kind of makes sense.
It's
Kind
like
of.
they missed a few scenes. Like they got
It-
cut
it-
almost.
I'm gonna kind of say it's kind of the feeling I had with the Harry Potter movies. Watching them, they expected people to know, hey, you read the books by this point. You know what we're trying to go for, and
Fill in the
we're
blanks
just gonna jump
yourselves.
ahead. What's that?
You know.
Fill in the blanks yourselves.
Yeah, that's kind of the feelings I got with those, and that's kind of the feeling I'm getting here. It's fill in the blanks, and or we're just gonna minimize the story, and it's just, and that's the problem, and also, yeah, the choreography on this scene is just fucking ungodly. I understand now why they gave. I think it's not Obara who had the knives. Is it Tyene?
Obara had the knives, but she was supposed to have the whip, character-wise.
Okay. Who's the bad pussy? I'm just going to call it
Tyene.
out there. Tyene. Okay. We understand why Tyene was given the knives because it's an easy one, but shit, that's not the reason why she was picked for this role. I'm just, and we'll get to that next episode, but it's just, oh my God, this whole scene, like I said, it felt like it was slow motion and it just did not work.
Yeah,
I don't know.
like a video game when you're just like you're watching where like you need to go in. They're like a mission is right over here, and like people they're just like having a sword fight or whatever, like the whole time. Like no one's getting anywhere.
I'm gonna go
Like,
on my own
until
side
you
quest.
interact. And
Yeah.
So the other large portions of this that are not included are basically the Gerald Dane Dark Star storyline, which is a big question of like what the fuck's going on with him. and also Ares Oakheart, which falls
Yeah.
right along with the Ariane Martell. So those are pretty large items, storyline items that are left out. And while this is all going on, we actually have Maren Trant. Is that right? No, it might not be Maren Trant. It might be it's Boris Blunt. I think is heading down, and they're like, because Marcella gets injured
over its bones.
right, and Marcella gets cut on her face, and Doran's like, how the fuck am I gonna explain this? Like, oh, she had an accident, like.
They're holding him up at every castle to feast him and do all this. I'm trying to figure this shit out. I have 2 weeks.
And like, those are great scenes that that Doran would have killed, because he's a phenomenal actor and he's done great with the limited stuff he's had. Yeah, there's a lot of really great material that he's never going to get to do.
Side of it that a lot of people, there's a big portion of the fandom that appreciate, myself included, is the politicking side of, hey, play it slow, because the first 4 seasons are all about, we're going to get to this place. Yes, a few people get to certain places and they die, but for the most part, the whole show is about, we're heading to this place to get here. This whole season seems like we're heading to this place, but now we're here. Now we have to figure out how we're getting, or what we're going to do while we're here. Instead of, the journey is the adventure. It's not the ending. It's not the destination.
And we're just in the middle of the adventure right now.
Yeah. All right.
That's enough on Dorn right now, I think. Do you got any more thoughts on Dorn?
No.
All right, let's go. All right, let's talk about Winterfell. So quite a few changes here. We have Jane Poole instead of Sansa. Sansa is still in the Vale with Microfinger, setting up all of the Harry the Heir type stuff, which is going to be really, really good to read when that finally comes out in the next book. There's quite a few differences here. Ramsay doesn't care if Jane in the books is a virgin. He just wants to know that she was taught to please men because she spent a lot of time in Microfinger's brothels, and it was basically brought up here at this point. And yes, the actual rape of Jane Poole is a bit more graphic and worse in the books, as Theon is not forced to just watch, but to get her started with his mouth, for lack of a better term, and is forced to participate. And anyone take it away here.
So I will, because I did say this was my favorite part of the episode because of the way it was done. And the reason I say that is because if they have to consolidate, and they did what they did, bringing Sansa in for the Jane Poole role and everything, the way it was done, it was very well done to make you just invest in watching more as a show watcher, because, again, as a show watcher, I get it. Book to show, yes, absolutely agree. Does not need any of this. It's bullshit. Fuck this whole thing. But show alone, it works, and it sucks, but it does work for everybody involved. I did like that they did not have... Had they had Theon involved, I was watching this back this week, thinking back to when I first watched it. I was like, if he tells Theon, come along or whatever, I was almost like, I'm done. Fuck it, I'm out. Had they gone that far, I don't know if I could continue on. The way they framed it and shot the scene, it was actually very well done for what it needed, for where they were trying to go with it. I'm not saying I agree with where they were trying to go with it. I agree with you, Luke. It kills Sansa's whole story arc from the books. That
Except you keep saying it was well done, and
no, I know. Hang on, but what I'm saying is, looking at book, I'm not looking book to show.
I'm looking show only. It's fucking wrong still. She doesn't need to. She doesn't need to come back from anything again. She's already done that.
But okay, Okay, bring in a new character, bring in this, bring in Jane Poole again, they're trying to consolidate, they're trying to, I get where they're
Have it be
coming
Miranda's
from.
fucking character. A nobody character. They've already brought in another character to fucking run this. Just have that be a nobody character that we don't really see any of this. We just hear about it.
Again, though, it's one of those...
Non-speaking role. Easy.
I mean,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. It had to happen to Sansa to know. I mean, yeah, he could have done it to Miranda. He could have done it to just a random whore. But I think this kind of. I mean, we already know that Ramsay's an awful character. I mean, he's done some awful things, but this just kind of really put the nail in the coffin for it. That he stripped away her innocence and he forcefully took what it was. And I mean, cinematography wise in the show, it was done well because they didn't show, what happened. They didn't show the movements of what happened. They just focused in on Theon, who was having a Theon moment and who was having, a holy shit come back to the light moment, but it it had to happen to Sansa, even though she's already endured so much shit, just to kind of solidify that Ramsay Bolton is like, yeah, this fucker needs to die.
Exactly, because by this point, we don't even have the Euron stuff, which we did in the books. At this point, we had the next bad thing of Euron Greyjoy, but show-wise, we don't have Euron to know there's something else bad coming beyond him and the fucking Night's King. At this point in the show, the two worst characters we have are Ramsay and the Night's King. So you have to make your big bad the fucking big fucking bad. And that's what they were doing with this. It sucks. I don't, again, I don't like it, but it was well done. And so that's it. And thank you, Terrance, for, helping me out with that. Because that's how I felt about it. You couldn't vocalize it, verbalize it.
Glenn, what do you
to
think?
it.
What do I think? I mean, I agree that it makes him look more evil. If you're gonna, I think since Joffrey died, now making Ramsay out to be public enemy number one, I think. The part that that everyone is kind of sticking on is like the big rape scene that got a lot of backlash or whatever. Like I get it to where make him look a lot evil, but do you think that they needed to go that far, or could they have done like other stuff, or something else, or maybe like?
Let me ask you, would it been, since we're all emotionally invested in the show, if he would have raped Miranda, how would we have felt about it? Like, I mean, it's still rape. Rape is rape. Yes, that's god awful. But we're not emotionally invested in Miranda. We're emotionally invested in Sansa. How would we have felt if it happened to Arya, or another woman character that we were well invested in? It's just it amplifies it, is what it does. So I think that's what made it all the worse. Because there's characters that have been raped in this series before, but we've kind of, I mean, we haven't looked the other way, obviously, but it's just like, oh, okay, that was pretty bad. But whenever Sansa gets raped, it's like, holy shit. Like, what the fuck? Why was that needed? And then that's whenever we dig into it and find and do this kind of, literary analysis. Well, because she was raped, this is the result of, Ramsay's character just like solidifying himself as the big bad baddie.
Mm-hmm.
So my main points, and I'm really, none of this is new. These conversations have been happening for 3+ years now, and there are many really great discussions on it. And yes, it is a scene directly from books. It's different characters involved for Sansa's part. I don't feel that seeing it is the problem. I don't think that's the problem that I have with it. The way it's done, I think, is not very good. And I think that Ramsay was already pretty well solidified as an atrocious, awful character. This didn't need to happen to Sansa specifically. Yes, they wanted Sophie Turner to have more scenes, what's going on in the Vale, because the timeline is all fucked up because of show consolidation and things moving at different speeds, that they had to have her have more screen time. I just fundamentally disagree that this is what is best for the show. I feel that it's only done to force these kinds of conversations because it's fucking unnecessary. It's shock value and makes you question, well, why'd they do that? That's different. Or, wow, like, yes, I'm emotionally invested in Sansa. That doesn't make it okay for them to do that. And yes, I'm not saying the character of Miranda should have been that character. I'm saying they already added an actress. Why not have Jane Poole actually do what was in the books? Just keep it the same. You've already added the same number of mouths to feed on set, for lack of a better term. And that's my real issue with it, is why muddy the waters and drag Sansa's character, that they've done a lot of work to have this retribution for her fixing her one dumb mistake. Oh, Sansa's so stupid because she got Ned killed. Like, no, Ned had his own hands in that. There were more than just her telling Cersei, oh, Ned's gonna, my dad's gonna take me out of here. There's way more to it than that being the one thing. Sansa's not that dumb. She's grown a lot, and this allowing the showrunners having this happen completely undermine any character development that they can do, and now it feels fabricated moving forward, and it was unneeded for her to be brought back from a victim point. She's already been that. She doesn't need it again for us to be like, oh, now Sansa can be strong. No, she's already fucking had that. She doesn't need it again. It's wrong.
Well, I think like she's done that her whole life, but like even in King's Landing, it's just every single pass is just like this like bigger and bigger like thing to like, well, you can't just do like the right thing. You just got to keep getting in this fucking circle, and then she leaves Joffrey and all that behind, and then she's getting into these other pickles. Like I just don't think that she would be getting in these pickles, and the fact that like Microfinger was like, well, if you don't want to do it, like just say the word and like you don't have to marry him or whatever. I think at that point, anybody in the right mind, if they were Sansa, would be like, no, we're getting the fuck out of here. But her agreeing to go to that storyline almost is like just kind of bullshit.
It's how they try to sell it as, oh, she made the choice to go and endure this awful.
Because she's strong, that she made the awful choice to go.
I just think that's fundamentally wrong.
When Microfinger's like, just say the word and we don't have to do it.
Like, no, that wasn't really an option.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And Luke, I'm saying I don't disagree with you at all. I really don't. And when I had picked that as my, favorite scene of it, I used it as because it's a favorite scene not because I like it the best, not because it's the best thing in the world. I fucking hate seeing that. But the way they played it and the way they shot it and did the scene itself, it made you more emotionally invested in Sansa's character.
But it doesn't. It makes you more invested in Theon's character.
No.
Yeah, it does.
No. Because I was like watching up the whole thing, like, okay, how the fuck is she gonna get out of this? Even though knowing what I read already, because I've already read all that before this scene came out. But I'm like, don't tell me they're gonna do that. Tell me there's gonna be a Deus Ex Machina. Tell me they're gonna switch up something else. And no, it didn't. And it's like, shit. And it's that real life pain and sorrow and suffering that makes it okay, fine, to take another fucking Harry Potter. Voldemort did great things. Terrible, but great. It was a great scene and portrayed greatly of a terrible thing. You know, the whole scene was portrayed, and it made me want to hope there's something going to save her. Same thing as episode 9 of season 1. Ned getting his head fucking taken off. Something bad's going to happen. His head's going to take off. But every time I watch it, it's like something's going to come in and save him. But it doesn't, because it's real life. And it sucks. It's fucking horrible, but it's what happens. And the way the show's taking it, I'm not disagreeing with you that it shouldn't have been taken this way, but if they're taking it this way, they're doing it in a decent
It's
way.
Dave and Dan jacking off that they can make shock value.
Yeah, fine. You dislike that. I understand it, and I don't hate it.
Yeah, but see where they're coming from. Like, if they do things where, okay, Ramsey rapes Jane Poole or whatever, and, like, maybe viewership goes down, or, you know, people are talking about that. Them doing Sansa, not saying that's the way to go, that's what they need to do, but it's trending. It's trendy.
I know. I mean, it absolutely worked for what they were going for.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just disagree with the mentality of it.
It is fundamentally wrong, even if it's successful. Yeah. It's Tywin. It's effective. It's not right.
Fair enough.
I agree.
Yeah, no, and completely fair. So,
all right, final thoughts.
We'll
Terrance, final thoughts on the episode as a whole.
I've said it many times in the show. I mean, I saw it as a filler episode. Nothing real new came out of this that we needed. I think you guys hit it on the head with saying worst episode ever. It was a setup episode. Like, it set it up for things to come. It wasn't no big revelations or anything like that. But it was necessary to kind of fuel what we're going to be seeing the rest of the season. And that generally tends to happen, you know, halfway throughout the season. What this is episode 5. So we're good half episode. Is it episode 5? Episode 6. Yeah. So, okay. So either way, we're, you know, a little bit more than halfway through the season, and they're setting it up for, you know, the big things that are set to come. So these little pawn episodes are moving right now in the right direction, that, you know, to get things going for the bigger episodes throughout the year. I don't really like this episode, didn't really care for it. I thought it was something completely different whenever I picked to talk about it.
That sounds like a joke.
But definitely was an episode that really got people talking because of what happened at the end. But nonetheless, just another episode.
Of all the episodes, this was one.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
That will wrap us up here. So please follow us on Twitter at Know and Drink. Send us a digital raven to knowanddrink@gmail.com. Subscribe, like, rate, and leave comments on iTunes and YouTube. And until next time.
Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack.
Benji, you're muted.
Winter is coming, and so is he.
You're still muted.
And as always, winter is coming, and so am I.
As always, it was a great fun to be on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here, Terrance. And as
Terrance.
always, please stay imaginary.
How do you know this?
That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
All right. Goodbye. Good night. Game over. See you.
Good night, all. Thank you, Dog, Felicia, and Phil. You're awesome.